Discussion and update regarding the purpose of the Sister City program. Isaac?
Thank you, Mayor, council members. Again, we're updating you on the sister cities. This was asked to be back and put back on the agenda to discuss the item. There was another letter presented to the city, so the city staff is now, our city council now has that information, so everybody has it and is able to read it. So at this point, we do have two cities being proposed. At this point, where we're currently at, as far as developing this structure, we're still in the beginning phases. So as you directed me to do, I'm looking into how this function of this organization is going to work. What are our day-to-day transactions going to look like? How are we going to bring the community back into the city, and so we can discuss it? How are we going to interact with this international city? So we're still in the beginning phases of that, so I'm trying to develop that. Once it is come time for us to actually choose a city and make that decision and actually choose how the function is going to work, are we going to have a council member on the board? Or are we going to have, as far as a little committee that we interact with? Is there going to be city staff? We're going to invite community. How is that actually internal, the nuts and bolts of the organization, how it's going to work? And also try and get a little bit of presentation from the sister cities. Unfortunately, you didn't get a lot of information of how that background works and what the benefits are. So I'm hoping to bring somebody else back in as well. So at that time, you'll have more of an action item that we can take. So is there any questions regarding where we're at with the status of this organization?
No. Really, yeah, we're just looking at it, how it works and everything. We had that gentleman come the other day, and I still want more. Between you and I, Isaac, I'd like to have more information, like you said, how's it work before we decide to go forward, and what direction we want to go if we do. Right now, I would, myself, right now, I'm looking at other things in the, prioritize right now in the city of Selma right now. I'm looking at a police station, I'm looking at, fire station, and I'm looking at a maintenance facility right now. It's very important for the city of Selma. And I'm looking at also events on the SKF trunk line service for the communities to develop our infrastructure in our communities right now, in a housing development and business structure right now. And that's very important, because without that mechanism, it doesn't grow. Selma doesn't grow. And I need that, city of Selma needs that, very important, because we need the economic growth in all areas, business, housing, because it's a driven force that helps our community grow and provide the public services like the fire and police services that are very important in our community. People can feel safe. And when you come walking down the streets, there is no, the quality of life is very important. And it's very important in every community, as far as no religion or everybody's equal on the planet. And we want that. And how we achieve it together, not by ourselves. One person cannot make that decision. It's the people that make the decision. You are the people out there, you make that decision. We are the people that create policy and direction, but the only way we create policy and direction is from you people. You create that area, what you want to have done and correctly, and we follow that direction from you guys. And that's all I got to say at this moment on the Sister City program.
I have comments to make.
Go ahead.
Isaac, thank you for putting this back on the agenda. And I know a big part of it was at my request. I don't think any of the 5 council members are opposed to a Sister City program and what it stands for, the cultural interacting. But I do need some clarifications, because after the last meeting, I went to a community resident and I said, hey, great news, we're starting a Sister City program in the state of Punjabi, in the province of Punjabi in India, and the response was not what I expected. The response was, what about the city I proposed? What about that? And I said, isn't this, I didn't know what he was talking about. I was kind of left speechless. So I said I would speak with them, and it turns out that the gentleman I was talking to was Nick Sahota, and he said that for over 2 years he's been working on a project of a Sister City IDM project, and he's been contacted with council members Assemblyman, Senator Vidak met with Congressman Valadeo, and he was looking for a collaborative effort from all levels of legislators and to bring in a city that would really cause the whole Fresno County to thrive economically, and wanted Selma to be the anchor city. And I said it sounds like a great idea, but I don't know what you're talking about. So he said that he has been in touch with Mayor Pro Tem Scott Robertson, has been in the loop on this. He presented him with a letter late in August. That letter also was sent and supposed to given to you, Mayor Avalos. And so I don't know why we did not invite Nick to present his city when we had the first presentation, but I just want to make sure that he gets the opportunity to present his city. I think he put a lot of work into it. I think he has a great vision. I'm not saying what city we should pick, but I think as a community and the hard work that he's done on this project for over 2 years, longer than I've been on this council, I think he deserves the opportunity. So what I would like to see is have Nick to have the opportunity to present his city at an upcoming meeting, give an official presentation in regards to Sister City.
You know, we could put it on our next agenda. That way he can present it to the council, you know,
We're here right now.
of the here right now, okay.
We're here right now.
If he wants to do it right now, you wanna do it
Putting
right
this
now?
on as an
Right.
agenda
Or-
item,
If you wanna
the
put,
second time in 4 weeks, so.
you wanna do it right now,
Do we
Nick?
wanna do it every,
Go ahead.
do we
You're-
wanna do
you're
this
here
every
already.
meeting, or
I
do?
can say a few
It's
words.
your call. You're here.
How
Well,
did,
sorry, go ahead.
Nick, in your conversation with us, could you let us know, to the best of your ability, how this happened? Because I think the last thing the city should do or ought to do is get in the middle, you know, and not promote one side over the other. And so I'm really
Well,
interested to hear how this came about.
Sorry to hear that. You know, we are as a one community and we are together, and that's why we are here for the sister cities. And it's not a matter to me, it's a matter to everyone. And we wanted, I went working with the Scots back and forth. It wasn't anything that is solid that we want to do. We had a few things that we want to do in the communities to do together for the Punjabi community locally here. But we never got into the point where we have a date on it. So I just wanted mention the few things that it's both cities are good. It's up to you guys, you know. And I just want to say this: I never got opportunities. I present this to Mr. Robertson on the August 30th, and me, and there's another community member, Mandeep. He's also is a planning commissioner, and he's well known here too. And we went and we did deliver the letters, and also there's a few conversation between other council members too. So anyway, I want to say a few words about what is this city, and if everybody wanted, that's up to them. I'm here to talk about the sister city with another city in Punjab, India. I went discussing at the city members, Robertson, about 2 to 3 years, Selma, as a sister city from Punjab, India. I have also working with closely with the Congressman David Valadeo, 21st districts, and also Andy Videk's District 14 Senator office, to jointly doing a together project for entirely Central Valley or Fresno County Sikh communities. And we like to the city of Selma being an anchor city, like our council member Luis, he mentions that, take a lead because the major Sikh populations is around here, Selma area. And we have in a process with the city of Amritsar in Punjab since beginning of May of this year. Amritsar is the most important sharon of the Sikhs in the world. It's the spiritual and a cultural center of the Sikh religions. It's like a Vatican city for the Sikh holy city for Sikhs. I have a letter here with me that you guys already have the invitation from a mayor of Amritsar. And this letter is also given again to one of the council members. Why was Amritsar or a golden temple city? Because it's rich with the agriculture, well diversified, well versed tourism, technology, chemical industry. I'm not sure if anyone knows. There's submersible pumps. The juices here in the valleys they come from India, and all the farmers using it, um, and they are manufactured there. And also, it's famous of rich culture, clothing, and a food industry. It's a very diversified city, and our local business farmer and professional can take this advantage to trade business partner and a technical exchange between the two cities. I really like to respect my fellow members of Six Community who are here with us today. And lastly, I want to say again, we have two cities. I understand that's why we are here, and I'm not any one person. I'm just a member of the community, and I didn't get the opportunities. We didn't have anything, any dates or anything like that. If we have an agenda on the meeting, madam, I would have all the members come here and with us and present that, and I didn't know anything about it. And we were working on it, and this is not my agenda, this is the communities. And once again, the Amritsar City Golden Temple, which is a world famous city, and it's a six Vatican cities, and and compared to the other city, is not famous, and at all. End of the day is your choice. Whatever you guys decided, I'm okay with it.
Nick, I think as council, we're looking at it, but really what it comes down to, it comes down to your Indian community here, what they want. Remember I said earlier what the people want, and it falls on the Indian community, what they want.
Absolutely.
All right, and we'll look at it. Don't get me wrong, but when it comes down to the Indian community will decide in what direction because you're the ones that, if we're going to be a sister city to India, you actually are the great avenue of culture exchange. So that will fall on your Indian community as people what you guys want. Okay.
So Nick, since you're mentioning me,
Sure.
I'll just defend myself here. We've known each other for a long time. Last email from you, August 28th. Can you get the letter of support for AB 3179, which I did? I sent it to interim city manager Moreno. So I did that. We got that on.
Right.
You came to council.
No, you
Then
always
on
help
August-
us, no doubt, yeah.
Okay, so on August 30th, then you've got an email to me. I just spoke with council about the letter of support. Next Tuesday is good. Thank you again, sir. Nick, I said yes, excellent. Scott, have at it. Because as I've told you, and I've told Mandeep, and I've told Gurnick and the Sikh community, the position should be not that we tell you who the sister city is, but that your Sikh community leadership tells us who the sister city should be. And I've always been straight with you that way and said, finally, it's up to you, and let you know it was gonna come down. That was a publicly noticed meeting. We had emails, it's coming. Sorry if I didn't come to your house and bring you to the meeting, but you and I have a very good avenue of communication, as you could see from our many, many emails, and you never even asked me when the meeting was gonna be. I had representatives from Namaskar in my office. I had you and Mandeep in my office, and we talked about this, and again, my position was, it's your call. I'm supportive of what your Sikh temple leadership decides, but I'm not gonna get in the middle because you're here and the community's here, and it sounds like there are two sister cities to be decided on. So you could see we're in a bit of an awkward position and a sticky wicket here of having you wanting us to select the sister city, which I'm hearing you say, and I'm not gonna be in that position. Again, it's an open meeting, it's a public meeting. I support the Sikh community. I support the Sikh community leadership's right to choose their sister city. And That's my position, and that's what we've
Right.
discussed all along.
I agreed. I agreed. No, you guys all are really too close to our communities, and we are here, always here with you guys. That's why we are here. I mean, it's not a matter to whichever the city is.
So isn't
It's
the
just
issue the sister city, not when you found out about an agenda item? I mean, I think the larger issue is the sister city, and I think that is up to the Sikh community to decide on
I
that
agreed.
and to let the city know, not for 5 people on the city council.
yeah. No,
to
no, no.
let you
It's
know.
it's. I understand. Only the thing is,
That-
it
I
doesn't
don't think
present
that's
it to the council members what I requested on it, and it wasn't presented, and it wasn't given up. The dates in there. I don't know why. And my letter, if you have them dated on it, if you see that, is on the August 31st, and the other letters are September 21st. And these letters, when exactly copied over, all the words are same, 90%. And I don't know what happened to it, but I'm once again, hey, I'm here with the both cities, and whatever is we all wanted, or doesn't matter, and I'm going forward with it, and I really appreciate your guys' time. You guys are value, and you guys have a lot of work. You guys hard do it for the city, and we appreciate it. You guys there, all of you guys at the parade, and well as chief and everyone, we really appreciate it. So we want to make this smooth runs, whichever the city. That's what all I'm here.
Right,
So.
and your event was, I believe at your house, was a political fundraiser for one of the city candidates.
Well,
that-
it's
that
just-
Councilman Franco and Councilperson Montiel were there, so they could have talked to you about the sister city event. I mean,
It-
I don't see how it's limited exclusively to a particular council member, Nick. I mean, that, from what I understand, you had a
No,
fundraiser,
I
so
think
couldn't you have talked to any
It's
council
got
member?
nothing to do with the political, and Scott, this is just that we are here, we are religious, we are Sikhs, and we just all we want to help from you guys to be move this forward and doing as a sister city. I'm not here to present anyone and or any political leaders, so I'm here to support everyone.
So,
So-
I mean, I appreciate your coming here and mentioning me, because I really do feel like I've been a supporter of you and of the Sikh community.
Yes.
And I appreciate that reciprocal support you've always showed. And I'm sorry that there's been a miscommunication on this,
Thank
but I
you.
really hope we can move forward.
Thank
And
you.
the Sikh community can
No.
give us guidance on this.
I have a question, and it has more to do with process than it does with the issue, I think. So, when we had this discussion about the sister cities, and judging from the dates that Mr. Sahota gave us, that meant that there were certain council members that were privy to certain information that the whole council was not privy to. And if they have information, if anyone has information regarding any issue, what is their obligation to bring it to us? In other words, I guess what I'm asking is, if they had received information about the interest of another group wanting a sister city, would anyone have been obligated to present that to us and let us know that there was a group that was vying for the same thing? That's my concern, really.
Yeah, it would have been up to the person who wants the sister city to bring it to the attention of the city.
I
That
guess I'm
that
just-
is where the information should come from. This
Well,
is
I
a
understand
product
that,
of the
but-
Sikh community, so we can get into the drama part, or
No,
we can move
this
forward and
isn't
try to
about
come
drama.
to a
What
consensus
is-
on this, and you
I'm
can try to stir
relating
up
it to
division.
this.
So
On
why don't we move
August-
forward on this
On
topic is,
August 22nd, we had an ethics meeting, and if I recall correctly, and I could be incorrect, and council can correct me, I recall that, for instance, if we meet with a developer, and when that issue comes forward, and if you had a lunch or anything with a developer, and you gained information from that meeting with the developer that the rest of the council was not privy to, then it would be incumbent upon you to
that's
express
an action item.
and report that, so we had the full scope of the issue. That's all I'm asking.
Right, and the sister city is something that, as Nick observed, has been around a long time. In fact, it's been around since President Roosevelt or Roosevelt, Eisenhower was the president. So it's been around 50 years. So
But-
in terms of the time urgency, there really isn't one, and I don't think we've had an action item on it. And I don't know in terms of the urgency on this, as the mayor said, you know, we have a police station to build. So it's really important to have a sister city, but in terms of urgency and information, I think that's what we're doing tonight, is that's coming out. So you can try to, you know, backtrack on this all you
I just
want,
want
but
to
I think we,
understand.
I think we
That's
need to,
all.
I
That's
think we
all.
need to
Well,
move
you know,
forward.
Transparency,
okay, my turn.
transparency,
Apples and oranges.
transparency.
All right, go ahead.
I see the letters are both addressed to Mayor Avalos and council city members. So shouldn't have all the council city members have gotten the copy of this letter?
Mr. Mayor, if I may just quickly address the points raised by Council Members Montijo and Franco. So, Councilmember Montijo, the example that you brought up is a developer in a due process hearing. That type of hearing is different than a legislative act, which is what the council is considering today. In a due process hearing, you have law and you apply the facts. And so if you have a communication with a developer, you need to let the balance of the council know because you have facts that you're applying law to. And under that scenario, you would need to disclose things. When it's something like this, if a council member receives that information, generally what happens is that council member should probably send it to the city manager, but there is no, and then the city manager could then distribute it, but there's no obligation for that council member to provide that information to the city manager.
So at
It's a
that, at that
different-
meeting
Just
as
a
well, we
conscious
also talked
decision.
about the Brown Act.
Correct.
And so when I get a piece of information or someone, we can't really share it with the other council
Correct.
members.
And
Just
that's
Especially
why,
when there's the
Manager.
presumption that the information probably would or should have been sent to the city manager or to each council member. That could be a pretty logical presumption here too. in
Right,
terms
and
of all
that's
the
why,
letters.
Mr. Mayor and members of the council, and that's why I said generally the council member should send it to the city manager, and then the city manager can distribute it as he or she sees accordingly, and, you know, remind everyone that we can't have those backdoor Brown Act
Yeah,
conversations.
it's not up to
Oh,
the city,
oh,
each
okay,
council
let-
member, it's
let's-
up to the
Nick,
city manager to distribute it.
Nick, let's,
This
you know-
letter, Nick, you sent it to Mayor Avalos?
I emailed it, and but we never presented to the city. And we went and asked Mr. Robertson's to be put him on agenda items. And I understand and it didn't happen. So, you know.
okay. Like I said earlier, you know, Nick, it goes back on you guys. The
No,
community.
it doesn't,
Well,
Jim.
no, no, it does.
It does not go back on him.
It goes to community,
does-
the Indian community goes, it
You
falls
should have
back on.
invited everybody. You shouldn't have been selective. You talk about let the community make the decision.
That's
But you're
right.
making the decision for
I-
him.
I'm not
Because you
making
didn't
no
allow him to
decision.
speak his mind.
I let-
You
I
did
let-
not allow him to speak his mind.
He
I
is speaking
understand.
his mind
and-
right
and
now.
He's speaking his mind right
After
now.
the
It's coming
fact.
right now.
After
He's
the
speak-
fact.
He's speaking
There
his
is
mind.
no after
Is
the
that
fact. It
bad?
wasn't an action item.
It wasn't
This
an
is
action-
not even-
informational.
This hasn't even gotten to the decision
Decision
stage.
process. Right
So-
now, we
and
have
the
important
meeting was
things on the
publicly
table
noticed.
right now, Franco, than, in this issue
So
right now.
where's your copy of
So
the letter,
right now,
Jim?
we're
What'd you
just
do with
creating
it?
division.
I don't know.
And
You don't
I
have-
think
you
there
don't
are
know?
people who want to speak, also members of the Sikh community.
Yeah.
Please, would you like to speak, sir?
Yeah, you know, this would open it up, so.
Yeah.
Honorable Mayor and the City Council members, thank you for having us. From the last time we met regarding this process, I think it was set on the agenda, and I had no knowledge. As a community member, I came and I presented, and we did talk before the two cities, and we clearly explained that Amritsar there was community talking about the other city as well. And we talked about the Amritsar being picked by another city, and it's a much, much larger city. It's a corporation, and we discussed among the community members, you can take a vote on who is in favor of the city that we presented. And it was talked about amongst our community, the church members, but I think, to me, I may be wrong, but when the item was set on the agenda for the discussion, shouldn't all of these members have come, just like we did, and we presented, and we could have talked about it rather
I
than
believe you
making
set
an
your own
issue
item on
here.
the agenda.
I think it doesn't make
You
any
set
sense
the
at
item.
all.
I didn't set
And
it. I
to,
didn't set
to,
your item either,
so,
right?
I don't know. I mean, we
It's
came
the
and we
fact
talked
because
about the,
it's not
you know,
theirs.
we discussed that, and it makes our community look bad. Just, you know, having,
In Discord. That's what you're
or,
trying
or
to
do,
to us.
I think council members, do they invite us? I'd never got any invitation
I
to
don't
present
know.
my side,
Yes,
so I
yes,
don't
you
think
are.
we need to invite anybody, and we need to come from our community to present our community to you, so you guys can make the
You guys set
decision
your own
for
agenda
us.
item, right? You set your own agenda item.
Yes.
You came to the, Isaac, and you set the agenda.
I think we presented our city to the city manager that day. The
as a
documents were presented
discussion
on
item.
that day. That could have been done the same from this gentleman who came forward. So that's what I have to say. So, you know, I want to make sure our image going through this process is not looking, you know, we're trying to do something. So we want to do what the best thing is for us, you know, like cultural, economics, you know, exchanges. So we want to do it for the best, not for to you know, to pick one side or the other. I don't think that's not our motive, and our whole you know, temple leaders are behind it. And so if we could not, and we found out, we approached City of Amritsar, and because we have a largest community from that city that came forward in favor of this city's thing. If this city is already picked by another big, larger city like Bakersfield, the size of, so then we said, well, the second city came to our mind was City of Namashar. That's what we decided with the majority of our people. I'm sure there's going to be other people, a few other people who's going to want a different city. So I don't think we're going to be probably 100% like any other community. We're going to get a consensus under. But if you take a vote today, what showed up today, I'm sure good 80, 90% would favor the city of Namashar, and we presented our case why we wanted, you know, the size, the agricultural community, and all that, you know. So we presented our case. So, you know, that's what I have to say. Thank you for time.
Yeah, this one for everybody.
Okay, one more.
Sorry, just for
Oh,
clarity, there's
my
been a
name-
letter that's been handed to me, so I'm passing it out to
Harninder
council
Gill.
now. Just to kind of back up a little bit as far as what happened at the last council meeting. It was not a discussion item, it was really just a presentation, and it was something the information was being requested of me to bring forward. Yes, there was a letter presented at that time, but again, we have not taken any action on this item. We are still in the beginning stages of developing this structure. Okay.
Yeah, my name is Gurnik Nagra. We came to the meeting the other day. I don't know, I'm sorry, you know, we're wasting your time, you know, having that thing discussed at every meeting. But since that question rose up, we have to come in. Everybody, I mean, we can stand up who respect Shahid Bhagat Singh Nagar. Please stand up. Why we have to stand? To show the support, to show the support.
This is just a presentation, it's not a deciding it.
I know, we can,
They're Nawaz Sherman, they're sorry for that.
Yeah.
I come here,
Oh.
I'm businessman here. Their Nawaz is not, has to be.
Wait, sir,
Nawaz
sir,
also not to
sir.
be listed. Nobody go to community, we also in community.
Sir,
Give us paper
wait,
so we
sir,
can
you're
come.
out of line. You're out of line right now. Out of line.
please
Please.
come.
You know?
It's not right,
No.
these guys, you guys
Oh,
presented
okay,
them, what
Nick,
about us?
Nick,
They invited us
wait,
at the
Nick,
temple.
But
wait,
I
Nick,
just wanted to,
That's their
Nick.
group of people, family.
Nick.
I just wanted
That's all
to,
they are, they are family.
Nick,
and-
Nick.
excuse- can
Please.
you let me talk? I just wanted
Nick.
to let,
No,
calm down, guys, okay? You know, please. You know, everybody had a right to speak, okay? I'm giving you that moment, all right? Please, all right? State your name
okay.
and who you are.
Again, my name is Gurnik Nagra. I just wanted to let you know that Amritsar been picked with the Bakersfield, and Amritsar population is 1.5 million. Selma is only 26 or 30,000. Amritsar is a corporation. It's not a city council. We are city council, Selma City Council. We don't have any match with the Amritsar. And mayor of the Amritsar, he's supporting Namashahr as a sister city. You can see the letter from the mayor of Amritsar. He don't want Amritsar with the Selma city. There is a letter from the mayor of the Amritsar. He's supporting Namashahr as a sister city. If anybody got question, he can call the mayor of Amritsar.
No,
He don't want to be the part of the sister city with the Selma. Why we picking Amritsar when the mayor doesn't want that?
So you're saying that the city of
I'm sure.
City-
Armistar, the mayor of Armistar is saying the city of Selma should pick Namaskar
Namashahr.
as
It
the
says in the
sister city.
letter if you read that.
because it's more appropriate.
12,
We're not,
12,
October 12th,
what's today?
Friday. So this is something they got on Friday.
They probably forwarded.
so this isn't an action item?
No,
From
it's
what
just
I
a
understand, this is
discussion.
just a
Everybody-
Just a
discussion
discussion
item. So
item.
why don't
Everybody
we
clarify
continue
the
the
point.
discussion, to everybody's temper?
Yeah,
You know,
but-
that's, we have another city to consider.
okay.
Let's take those other issues.
Yeah, that's
and
fine.
The Sikh temple leadership should be the ones that decide
Yeah, they,
who the sister city is, and then at the appropriate time, they should come back with the city and make their recommendation. Is that correct?
we're just discussing.
This is not even a,
But this is a problem when you start.
well,
things-
who is the leadership at the Sikh temple?
That's the first question.
This is just a discussion item.
Okay, yeah.
It's not an action item, guys, okay?
For them
No
to
decision
decide.
being made.
No decision being made at this moment. You know, Isaac is looking at it in a different, and he'll bring it back to us as how it really works and how it,
And this is exactly why, Nick, I stepped back and I didn't ask for any items to be put on the agenda because I know there's discord there. This should be uniting the community, the sister city. Let's get back to that spirit. Let's all of us get back to that spirit. Get on the same page and decide what the best city is in your community so that we can have other sister cities too. Let's set an example for our community and for our world, okay? Thank you for coming out tonight.
thank you, guys.
Thank you, everybody,
Thank
for
you.
coming out.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's
We'll
it.
keep
Nothing-
moving
nothing's
forward.
happening.
Isaac
No-
will, Isaac will
nothing's
be in
happening.
touch with
Okay.
everyone.
Thank
All
you.
right. Just information. Okay?
Can I speak for a minute? Or?
Yes, you can speak. I'll give you 3 minutes.
Mr. Mayor and council member, let me tell you first, I'm as nervous as our first speaker was. But don't pay attention to my English, but I'll try to good ideas.
It's okay.
The first thing, I'm from Amritsar. And you see, majority of people are from Amritsar.
Oh, you almost-
Not
okay.
majority, but a lot of people from Amritsar, but majority from still around Namashahr area. I was born up in Amritsar. I was educated in Amritsar. I spent almost 27 years of my life in Amritsar. Then I moved to United States. Incomparable. Selma is not in a close. We're talking about sister city. I can say even 30 mothers cannot make equal to Selma city and Amritsar. Amritsar is so big. They were talking 1.5 million people. Yes, it'd be more than 1.5 million. And being from Amritsar, I love Amritsar to be chosen as a sister city, but in practicality, it's not possible. And Namashahr is very well positioned to be given a sister city status with the city of Selma. And there are a lot of benefits, being the equal size of a community. And you see people in Selma area, there are a lot of people from Namashahr area. And if I'm greedy, I like the Amritsar city be given, but Amritsar is already chosen sister city with the Bakersfield. And that's not even enough for a city like the size of Amritsar. There's no prejudice or any hate or anything, but on practicality, Namashahr is better positioned with the city of Selma. And plus another thing was there, the size, they talk about size already. Equality, there's no equality in a size and a demographic situation. And people, I personally request, I like the city of Amritsar is a holy city. It's a well-known city. Golden Temple is there. Everything is there. But we are not talking religion here. We are talking about a lot of economic, educational, social benefits. the religion is a different thing. Religion is your personal thing. But when we talk about the sphere of economic activity, it's religion is out of it. Even from Selma City, from Baker City, everybody can go visit Golden Temple. Who stopped them? But to get the benefit, I think we should consider Nawashar in a comparability with the Selma, City of Selma.
Thank you. Thank you. And like earlier, it falls on your Indian community, what you want. That's, you know, okay. Today was just a discussion item today, okay, guys? No action will be taken today, all right? To, for the record, today's my birthday. I'm a young man, okay? All right, guys, okay. Now everybody's happy now, okay? Good. Now, we move on, okay. And, item number 9. Okay, discussion updating code enforcement service. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, let's give it a minute to.
Okay.
Yeah, give him a second here.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm gonna have to lower this down though. Not that tall.
Throw that in there.
I wonder how much they gave somebody's campaign.
Rena, can you pull up this PowerPoint?
Yeah, right after the fundraiser, US comes and does their website, okay? Get it?
Everyone up?
They didn't stay for your
I guess not, man.
I get it. Oh, good. Thank you.
Okay.
So, let me.
Oh, you're on. Go ahead.
Fine. Council, the item I have before you is a discussion item. Again, was requested to be put on the agenda so we can get a little more thorough analysis and information on how code enforcement works. So we do have a small PowerPoint for you, and also we have our code enforcement officer, Javier, to be able to go through the information so you can ask some questions and tell you what's going on.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. How you guys doing? Happy birthday. It's kind of hard to come in after that, right? But my presentation is a quick slideshow on the process that code enforcement has to take to clean up properties, to either do vehicle abatements, to even do graffiti removal. Chief, would you be able to push the next button? Yeah. This was taken back on.
You're good at code enforcement. You made them trained already.
This property was, or these pictures were taken back on April 16th of this year, and if you can see, there's a lot of trash on this property. So my first step is, of course, to take a few pictures of the property, and also send that property owner a notice of violation. After 10 days of not receiving any feedback from that property owner, my next step is to post the property. At that time frame, I basically go back out there, post a 3-day notice that it's going to be vacated by the city, and we will then lien out the property. If we could see the after picture, that would be great. And this was taken, as you see, a few days later, back on May the 2nd.
He did that or you did that?
No, we actually got a company to go out and get that cleaned up, sir.
Thank you.
Next picture right now.
Clarify the process a little bit too. So you can see the steps that it'll take to get to the point. It's not as simple as we just go out there and clean it up. There's some noticing needs to be done, some information needs to be sent out. He's sending letters and things of that nature. Once you get past that point, then at that point we can now enforce it. We follow the appropriate procedures, and we can hire somebody to go out there and clean it up themselves, and then turn around and bill that individual, the property owner, so that we can get refunded for what they expended. And if they don't comply in that matter, then we can turn around and file it to the property tax roll to get reimbursed in that matter, in that sense. Okay.
What usually happens?
Yeah.
People usually respond, or
Usually I get a good 90% response rate. In this situation, these two vacant properties that you're seeing on these pictures, the owners are out of state or out of the area. They're either in San Diego. I had one issue that the person's actually in Japan right now. He's serving their country, but he's in Japan. So in this situation, I never received a response from this property owner again. So on the after picture, it was cleaned up a few days later after the proper process was completed. Next picture, Rena. Of course, in the city, we have a lot of graffiti. Mr. Shane was able to take care of the graffiti that's on the top hand corner. Reason Public Works got involved is basically the property owner is a 77-year-old female. 77-year-old female has no family in the area, and at this time frame, she's confined. She's bed confined. So I, as a human, I know that she's not going to be able to take care of that graffiti. So I asked Public Works if they could go out there and take care of that graffiti for her. On the bottom graffiti, it's an ongoing situation on McCall Avenue, but the property owner does take care of the issue. You might not take care of the issue on a regular white paint, if you're going to see on the next picture, but he does get rid of the graffiti. And the ordinance doesn't state that we need to match the paint in any given graffiti, as long as the graffiti is removed.
When do you make the decision to just demo the building as opposed to just keep coming back and painting it?
In that situation, I need to get building involved, because they're going to be the ultimate person to make the decision of getting a building condemned, because
Can
you
you
are the
condemn a
building.
building just because of graffiti, or does it have to be structural?
It has to be structural in that situation.
Does that graffiti give you a reason to go in without a search warrant and look at the building if it's full of graffiti to enter private property, or do you have that ability already?
If we have any means to go on that property, any reason to go on that property, I should say, then we don't need to get any type of consent from that property owner.
And a reason to go on that property is because it's in disrepair, because there's a lot of graffiti on it?
A lot of graffiti, if you can notice, or there's some broken windows. That gate that's going to the front door at one time was not secured. So I did make contact with the property owner. He got that secured because we were having homeless going into that structure.
Mr. Mayor, if I may just clarify one point. We can only go on private property if we're given consent by the property owner or we have a warrant. We can't just go on to someone's personal property. Police chief may wish to expand a little bit more on that, but as code enforcement officials, we don't have that authority.
Chief, can I respond real quick on that? On this property, the property owner has already given me permission to go on his property anytime that I need to, in case there is any homeless, more broken windows, anything that I need to take care of on my end. I have permission from the property owner.
The only thing I would comment on is that permission would have to be in writing. The property would have to be posted appropriately, and absence from sort of an exigent circumstance, a fire, someone injured, something like that, we'd either need the property to be posted and the letter on file with our department or a search warrant. So.
And Chief, I could get you that letter.
Well, we'll talk offline. So.
That's the end of my slides. I have tons of pictures if you actually want to see them, but
If you stand off the property and you have your spray paint and you spray paint from off the property onto that, over that graffiti, that's still trespassing, is it not? If you are,
yes, sir.
if you apply a coat of paint to the property, correct?
Yes.
That's correct.
Because there are a lot of people in town that would like the opportunity to clean up that
Walk in the property.
graffiti. Yeah,
Yeah.
walk on the property and just
Yeah.
say, hey, I'll do it. That's not to be encouraged.
That's not to be encouraged at all.
They should call you.
They should call me and I can make contact with that property owner or individual.
And that posting, is the posting that the chief discussed, is that the same thing as you posting that you came out there and they've got 10 days to fix it, or the city will go on their property and fix it, or does that require a search warrant
No,
as well?
on that part is basically once I already gave him the notice and they haven't complied, and I still need to resolve the issue, then I send out another posting letter as well to let them know that the city will be doing the abatement or the cleaning on that property.
Now, when you do that, how much, what is the time frame when you actually give that notice, say, hey, you gotta remove that within 72 hours?
Excuse me, vehicles,
Especially when we're tagging the graffiti, you know, we need to move on it.
basically our ordinance, or not our ordinance, but our letters or notices give them 10 business days. 10 days.
Didn't we shorten
I thought we
that?
shortened that time frame.
Yeah, to 72 hours.
Yeah.
Didn't we
3
shorten
days.
I
that?
think it's 72 hours for graffiti.
I thought we
They
just,
just redid that.
We just redid that.
okay.
You may have been gone when that happened.
You might have
What's that?
been.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, I think we did shorten the time frame to 72 hours for graffiti. That may have been done during your leave,
Oh, okay.
medical.
It's 24 hours
no,
notice.
24
Is,
hours.
Yes.
he was, leave, we can't discuss
And
that.
are you looking under Title VI?
Title 621-6.
6.
You have the duty to remove within 24 hours of notice by the city. Well, it looks like there's some conflict in our ordinance, which was the part I was going to talk about, because there's a second provision that says, there's 72, so I think, okay. So what happens is after 72 hours, we provide the notice, and then after we provide notice, the individual has 24 hours to remove.
Okay,
Under our
72,
graffiti
24,
ordinance.
so, okay, so,
Correct.
96 hours.
all right then.
Clarify that? Give us the notice again.
It
How
it
many
was,
hours?
it was 72 hours and 24 hours,
72?
and 24 hours after that to take it off.
Correct. We post the notice after 72 hours of it being there, and then after we've posted the notice, they have 24 hours to remove it.
Okay.
Business days, business hours.
24 hours, it doesn't specify, so it would be
Business
just a regular one day, 24 hours.
So now you got a timeline that's a little shorter than you had before.
Yeah. Okay, continue.
Well, here's my
He's
question.
done.
I have questions.
Yes, sir.
For the things you didn't show, like lawns being used for parking lots and driveways and weeds knee-high. That falls under your jurisdiction, correct?
Yes, sir.
Can you tell me what is, because I always hear conflicting stories. What's our ordinance for parking a car on your lawn?
It has to be an approved surface. And according to the ordinance, you cannot park on your lawn.
Okay.
But it doesn't state that. It does not state that on the ordinance. It just says an approved surface.
So if I park my vehicle on my lawn because there's a shade tree and I want to park under the shade tree and I drive on my grass and I do it every day, you see tire marks where there's dirt, it's already a dirt trailway. Do I get a citation from you? If you see my car parked there?
If it's not approved, yes.
And then
Well, actually, you're not going to get the citation off the bat. You will get a notice first.
a notice, and that
Yes.
notice tells me to,
Don't park on your lawn.
and then,
The verbiage on the ordinance might not say that.
and
Or
then,
I'm sorry,
so I
will
get
not say that.
I get that notice, and then I park on the street for 3 weeks.
On-
And then I go back and park on my lawn, do I get a second notice, or do I get a fine?
No, and that time you will get a fine.
Okay. Well, why do I hear that residents saying that all they get is notices, and then after 10 days? Am I confusing that with something else?
You might be, sir.
What's the first fine?
$100,
Second,
$200,
third,
$500.
fourth,
Uh,
thousand?
What's that?
5,000?
500.
5 is the limit.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, to answer the Mayor Pro Tem's question, those fine numbers are set pursuant to the government code. So first fine is 100, second is 200, the third and subsequent are all $500.
How many, do you know how many fines, parking violations for lawns that we've given out?
This year,
Yeah, this year.
we've done 13,
Just 13?
just 13.
You only found 13 cars parked on the lawn in this town?
No. That's 13 that did not comply.
Okay, it's just I hear a lot of complaints. My short time being here on council, or 2 years, not short, but one of the more common things I've heard is with all weeds and cars parked all over lawns. And I tell them, call the city, ask for code enforcement. But I see those same residents again, and they say those people are still doing it. They're complaining. So I don't know. Are we not finding them, or are you not catching them? Or our codes are not written right, and there's loopholes. Because I'm hearing all 3 scenarios, and I don't know which one is the most accurate.
So-
It may vary, sir.
Let me try and address that. Sorry.
Okay.
So there was some confusion as far as what the codes, what you can and can't do. What is the code enforcement officer's authority as far as citing and things of that nature. That's one of the reasons why we tabled this for a little while, so we can get some clarity. We can sit down with our city attorney and kind of go through those ordinances and what they look like and what that structure is. So there was a little confusion of what we can enforce and what we can't. So that's been rectified at this point. So I think that's why you're getting some of those questions and concerns on what happened. So we've now sat down with the code enforcement officer, the chief of police, and the city attorney and myself, and say, okay, what is within our purview? What can we do? So that's why you're seeing a little more enforcement as far as. So there was confusion on whether we're just issuing notices all the time. You're getting notices, and so now we come to the conclusion. Once you issue a notice to an individual at that property, at that point, even if they move it and they put it back, you can now issue a citation. So that's where you're seeing a little more streamlined in the process. So we've gotten clarity from the city attorney what we can and can't do.
Now, the second part to that, it says, on an approved surface. I'm assuming that would be asphalt or cement.
Correct.
And then, the city, is it okay for the city to issue a permit for people to cement or asphalt their front yard so that they can park on it?
The actual permit side of it?
Right, so in other words, we're saying on an approved surface.
Yes.
So someone desperately wants the shade from that tree. Do we then almost contradict ourselves by saying, okay, we're gonna give you the permit to pour cement in your front lawn? Because I think whether it's an approved surface or not, I think the point is that people don't want anyone parking where they shouldn't logically park, like a driveway or a street surface. I don't know, have we gotten to that point yet?
Well,
So
No.
one of the caveats you'd have to remember too, it's not just putting cement on your property, it's also making a proper cutout, having ADA compliance and things of that nature too. You can't just start driving up on curbs. You'd have to make it appropriate, and that's some of the definitions in which we look for things like that.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, to answer Councilmember Montijo's question, you would have to still comply with the city's zoning ordinance. I've never seen a zoning ordinance that would allow you to pave your front yard. Generally, there's a landscape requirement and a lot coverage requirement. So I wouldn't imagine that our code, although I have not reviewed it, I don't believe our development standards would allow someone to do that.
I can think of one person who has, that's why I'm asking.
And it may just be a case of them not complying with the development standards or getting a permit, but generally you would still have to comply with the city's zoning code.
That's my question, thank you.
Okay.
Are you busy, Javier? You pretty
Am I busy?
You pretty
Yes, sir.
Oh,
Very busy.
Like all day long? Like I remember when Dave Elias was the city manager here, he would send us for a few weeks. He got on the kick of sending us the messages that you get, all the requests for service, and it was immense. I mean, it is nonstop, and I guess my question is one code enforcement officer enough? Should we have one
No.
more in Selma for a city of 25, 26,000 people and growing? And we all of us property owners and renters who take pride in where we live, we want a clean place to live, we want a quiet place to live. We don't want graffiti, we don't want blight. He's our ground zero. He's our boots on the ground, of keeping our town looking good. And if he's always, you know, just answering the most drastic calls rather than getting to the cars parked on the approved surface, you know, getting into the minutiae, maybe we need to have look into having another code enforcement officer. Is there money in the budget for a code enforcement officer right now? Is that something we could look at for the upcoming budget?
So this is part of the conversation we had during our budget process when we were envisioning and how we want to structure a new budget. Was it more officers? Was it additions to fire? Or was it code enforcement? And these are all kind of scenarios we ran through and came up with the budget we currently have. Do we need more code enforcement officers? Yes, we do. For the city of our size, most cities around our size have additional staff members, or they have part-time individuals assisting with code enforcement to take on some of that stress. The smaller cities are usually just using your building inspectors and things of that nature, but as we continue to grow, it's going to be important that we do add some bodies to do this.
And it takes a load off one person, so you share the load and it's a little easier.
Correct.
Keeps everybody a
So,
little
I mean, as we go through our fiscal year and we start looking at this and we start reviewing our budgets and giving quarterly updates, we can definitely have a budget conversation on what that looks like and restructure at that time.
I know we get a budget update every 3 months, and we're about due for one. Maybe at the next budget update, we could look at the feasibility of adding a code enforcement officer.
Even 2 part-time ones would.
Or 2 part-time. I
Correct.
mean, let's.
My suggestion would actually to have 1 full-time code enforcement officer and then additional part-timers. But that's something we can discuss.
Probably
I go home at 5. Well, maybe at 5, but Isaac usually sees me about 6 o'clock. So, yeah.
Thank you for coming.
Okay, thank,
No, hold.
Question?
oh,
No, I don't have a question for you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, man.
But I want to know, so you and council reviewed our codes. My impression is they're probably not, there's probably a lot of loopholes, or maybe they're not, they're a little obsolete, or they're missing things that are, we need to add to. When's the last time we updated our codes or had staff go through and make recommendations or anything like that?
I'm not that sure at what point they have actually gone through the whole thing. I mean, there are obviously some things that we should address. There's some comments that the city attorney has brought up and things of that nature. What it really takes is an individual such as our city attorney to be able to go through there and rewrite these codes completely and do some analysis on it. I mean, that's some in-depth work that you're talking about, though, to go through this whole thing to get it done.
Well, I'm not asking for it
That's
done
over and
tomorrow,
above
but
the contract that the city has with the.
I asked for this discussion in last Henry. Then it was put off to July. Then it was put off till August. Then it was put off till September. Then it was put off till October. And my main question was, are our codes relevant today? Do they need to be updated? When's the last time? And all this time, I thought you were spending that time to say, hey, maybe we need to spend a few months to come back and tell you, hey, we need to update in these areas, or perhaps we need to change them, or maybe they're just great. But so in June, I've been waiting for the answers. How are our codes?
Do I believe there
Viable for
needs to
today.
be some updates? Yes, I do.
Mr. Mayor, if I just may speak to Councilmember Franco's question, also the Mayor Pro Tem's question. The first, with respect to the status of our ordinances, some of our ordinances go back to, I'm looking at 1982. The biggest issue that I saw as I was reviewing the code is the fact that generally when you have a municipal code, public nuisances, which is what code enforcement falls under, it's all under one section of the code. That way you create one section that's consistent, there's one set of penalties, and it's easy for code enforcement, it's easy for the police department, it's easy for the city manager to be able to just pick it up, figure out what's a public nuisance, where to cite it, and then what the process is for abating the public nuisance or issuing an administrative citation. The issue with our code is that you can see I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I have more than a half dozen, I think, sections of the code that deal with public nuisances. They're labeled inconsistently, the remedies aren't always the same, and so I can see how it's troublesome for staff to try and implement them. However, in speaking with the city manager, code enforcement, the police chief, the cost to update the city's code it's expensive. It is included in in our fee, but if we go above and beyond the 40 hours, that's when the city gets charged the hourly rate. And so in talking with staff, it seemed it was the better idea to use what we have, but use those funds instead of paying attorney's fees to perhaps hire additional code enforcement officers, because you can have an amazing and beautifully written code, but if you don't have anyone to implement those codes, then you still have a city that has blight. And I don't think that that's the goal of the council based on the discussion from today and based on how code enforcement works. One option would be to go through and just try and remove some of the inconsistencies, so it's easier for staff to be able to implement the code. But an overall rewrite, I think, is going to be take quite a bit of time and also be somewhat expensive for the city to do that.
And there might not be the return on it either.
Right.
that the
No.
city-
Right.
Correct,
Yeah.
right. I would rather
Yeah.
see it go towards an
How
officer.
this-
Yeah.
If we find someone
Enforce that.
and they have the right to appeal, do they not?
Correct.
So if they do appeal the fines, I guess my concern is, would the codes that we currently have in place, are they sufficient enough that we could substantiate our work? In other words, I want to be sure that Mr. Vidrio, when he goes out and knocks on somebody's door and fines them that $500, that we can, as a city, justify his work.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, I would say yes. What I would likely advise staff to do, though, is instead of just citing to one section of the code, I would try and go to as many sections that cover that particular issue to make sure that the city is just covered.
Okay,
Well, hold on, one
But-
question. So,
but,
so we get a code enforcement a second code enforcement officer, we use those resources. How are we going to, with all this cost, how are we going to address the problem, maybe in a timely manner or maybe methodically? I don't wanna forget about the problem. Our problem, our codes are in disarray. So how are we going to unify them? If we get a second, we have to have some mechanism that says you're still addressing it, even if it takes a longer process to do that. So I guess that's something for
well,
Teresa.
you know,
I mean, my advice would still be, Mr. Mayor, is if we could just go through and take out the inconsistencies. I think that's probably the best place to start, and it would likely be the most efficient use of legal resources.
Would that
Okay,
put it
then we'll-
over our limit?
I don't know, I'd have to go through all the sections of the code.
all right, let's
Yeah.
move on, let's move on to the
We
next
have
item.
have a gentleman.
I have a
Oh,
couple of questions regarding that, if you don't mind. Good evening, Council.
state your name and,
My
that way
name's
for the
Frank
record.
Hernandez. I live here on Goldridge in town.
Thank you, and,
I was sitting
and-
there and I was asking this gentleman to my right, was this the only gentleman that does the code enforcing, the painting and the graffiti removing and stuff? I thought he had a crew. It's just you? It's just you. And I think extra code enforcement officers would be great. It'd be more boots on the ground, more eyes, juvenile delinquency, a city car, a city truck. It's gonna deter them from doing other shenanigans. Or you guys don't wanna hire more code enforcement officers. The juvenile delinquents, put them, into, community service. We gotta, I'm sure we got a lot of juvenile delinquents in town. Hey, get them some safety vests, get out there, cleaning up the neighborhood.
hey, I'm all for that.
Yeah, I mean, isn't that a better avenue than hiring 4 more guys? I mean, by yourself? Jesus. Anyways, that was my 3 minutes on that topic. You know?
No, thank you.
I mean,
No,
should I
that's
stand
okay.
up here and wait for an answer? I've never gotten an
Oh, no,
answer
no,
on
you
any
don't,
of my
I'll
other
be I'll be honest with you.
inputs.
We have to look at
It
this,
just says that-
Hernandez.
Right.
I have an idea, it just came to me right now, but I have to discuss it with the, council and Isaac and the code enforcer, see if it's feasible and how we can do it.
I mean, other cities do it. I mean,
No, well, you know what, yeah, you're right, we need more code enforcement out there, he needs help. And, we want the town to look nice and everything, and we want people,
I mean,
take pride in their community.
If I may ask, what is the punishment for somebody? I mean, do we even have a curfew law? Is that ever enforced?
Oh, we have a curfew.
Yeah. What's the?
Yeah, in
what
fact,
do-
the chief is already on it already.
What do they
Aren't you,
do? I
Chief?
mean, truancy.
He had the
You know,
plan there.
You get somebody that's not in school. Hey, come here. We're giving you a broom and a paintbrush. You know?
Yeah.
Something to think about, gentlemen. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, thank you.
So at the next budget
Yeah,
meeting,
well-
hopefully we can talk about code enforcement.
Well, I have,
Code
I have a
enforcement.
plan, I have a plan. I got a
And we
plan.
can look at the budget
agree.
for
It'll work, it'd be cost
inconsistencies
effective, it'd be
in the
cost
code.
effective. I've always got a plan. We'll move on to the next item here. Very important for me here. Today's my birthday, I'm trying to move on here, guys. Okay, discussion, update in regarding the police station. Isaac? You're
Thank
up
you,
again,
Mayor.
buddy.
Councilmember.
Chief, you're right behind him, trust me.
What we have for our today is a discussion on the police station again. What we'll be doing is constantly bringing this back to you, keeping you aware, so you're well aware of what we're doing, what's going on, what negotiations we are currently having. So we are still in negotiations with the unions to work on the PLA and what that structure looks like. So at this point in time, what we'd like to is actually get you a budget update and where we're at in this process. Raina, if you can please bring that up.
Is this the sheet we got here?
So this is the sheet you have. This is the estimates that have been brought in for us that Veneer has actually established. So we'll kind of go through the process and look at these numbers and what they mean.
6,500,000.
He's got it.
All right, so you go through the first page and what you're looking at, you'll see some site work, what they have a cost factor of $1 million, and also the construction of the project of 5.2 with a total base amount of about 6.2 just for the construction of the building itself. We're not going to go into a full depth analysis here. There's really just a good overview of the budget and what it looks like and where we're going. Okay. So in order to try and assist with the bidding process, what we've done is, and which we've already talked about, is create alternates, add alternates, so that when you go into the bidding environment, with the understanding that you're hoping to get all of it, but you may not be able to do so. So in order to accommodate that, you add alternates, and some of the alternates that they had was, for example, the community room, auto sensors, and a gas system for the computer room and things of that nature. So when you go into the bidding environment, you have your dollar amount that you had these alternates. And so depending on how the base bid comes out, you can select some of these alternates to add in there or just completely remove all of them. Again, it gives you some flexibility within the bidding environment or within the bidding environment. So what we've done is actually add some additional alternates. So for example, the Sally Port fencing and things of that nature, different fencing avenues at different points. The wall that was projected to be in the front, maybe looking at that being a gate. Again, creating options for the city, not necessarily saying we want to take these items out. It's really just giving us options going into the bid environment and trying to be a little more flexible. Okay.
What are they? What's the deductive alternate number 1, alternate 2, and alternate 3?
So 1, 2, and 3 from the individual bid process. The community room was 1, 2, or I don't remember the numbers, but the other one was auto sensors for the restrooms, and a gas system in the computer room was 1, 2, and 3 in the original bid packet.
Okay, so, and that cost is actually included in the 6.22 million
That's correct.
for the base bid?
That's correct.
What if we took those out? How much would that take out?
I don't have those dollars amounts with you here today. I do remember from the bid environment, the community room was pretty close to, it was a little over $100,000. I don't remember what the bids came out for the other individuals.
Not much.
That they weren't very high, no.
Still, we need every penny on this job,
So
the way we're going. So, who approved the community room?
it's not approved, it was part of the package itself. You mean, as
mean,
in
I
part of the project itself, it was part of the
Yeah,
overall scope of the project.
I never thought I know we all looked at the floor plan, but I thought the community room was like in broken lines.
It
because
is,
was
meaning
just
that it's an alternate.
a potential idea.
So,
But
Mhm.
you're including it in the bid, so when this goes out to bid, this potentially could be taken out, right?
As an alternate, it can be, it basically gets weighed to see if we can afford it or not. And at that time, we determine it'll come back.
These are about.
Mhm.
That's correct. So you'll get your baseline bid, and then you'll get a cost factor on all the other ones as well. And you make your decisions from what the information that you have.
Who says we want a community room?
It was part of the plan. It's been in there since the beginning.
I never saw it. I mean, we saw it like one time, council did, and I never saw a community room. I saw an exterior, I saw an elevation, but I never saw the interior. First time I ever saw a floor plan was a few weeks ago with the community room and you know, big offices for the chief and a conference room and an office for the secretary for the chief right next to the chief, and then community room and a weight room and all these other things. And who approved that? Who's deciding on what this thing's gonna look like?
That has been a conversation that's been going on since the beginning of this project.
Are
So
we-
the city
are we
manager's
gonna
been
get a
talking
say in
about it,
this?
staff's been talking about it.
For the past 9 months,
Are
we've
we-
been having that conversation.
Are we gonna get a say in this? I mean, are we gonna take a look at this? We're gonna get some input? Is that what we're doing here?
We're having a discussion on the whole project. That's the site plan right there.
Because, I mean, it looks like we're running out of money here.
Well, basically what happens is at this point, it's actually going to cost you money if you start reducing the internal guts of the structure itself. So you got to remember, you got to take into account load-bearing walls and things of that nature. And if you start shifting and moving, you're going to actually have some costs incurred, which we've already had some costs incurred due to some changes in the plans. So kind of just bring it back a little bit before we even got to the bid environment. If you remember, the original project was about 14,000 square feet.
You're
And
gonna
now it's been
increase the
reduced.
bid if you take out the gas sensors?
No, what I'm saying is if you reduce, well,
Or the-
that will
Change the
reduce it. But I'm saying if you
footprint,
change the inner structures, then you're going to end up
You can't-
not
you
even,
can't change the
Who's
structure.
who's talking about changing the structure? We're talking about reallocating, reapportioning.
well, when you start moving walls in any sense, you end up having to incur additional costs for the architect and the engineers that go into all of it. Because remember, you got electrical, you got plumbing, all that's got to be reassessed.
Yeah, but we haven't seen any of that. We haven't seen any changing of the footprint. We've just been given the same thing over and over every time. So this is what
Well,
looks like
when-
what we're getting again tonight with the deductive alternate, the auto sensors, the gas sensor. It just seems like we just keep looking at the same thing over and over, and it's getting a little frustrating. Is it 14,000 square feet, or
It's
is it
actually 10.
10,000?
It's 10. It's
Okay.
It's slightly under 10 actually.
It says 14,000,
Yeah,
but it's 10.
that's-
Okay,
yeah,
so
from
that was
prior.
an earlier incarnation that we never saw,
That's
and
correct.
now it's 14,000. So, okay.
No, it's 10,000.
It's
No,
10.
10.
It's slightly under 10.
Yeah,
10.
it says
It's
14,000. on
that's an
your-
error. That's
on
from the
your-
original.
They're saying 10,000.
Yeah, right, that's why I asked, 10,000 square feet.
Mm-hmm.
So it says 14,000, but it's actually 10,000. And it was probably 14,000 during an earlier incarnation of the police station. And here we are talking about these costs, and we don't seem to be getting anywhere. Are we talking about the budget here? Are we talking about the bid? What are we talking about?
We're talking
here?
about budget.
Okay, and this is the budget that Van Eer, our project manager, came up with
Correct.
and looked at this?
Mhm.
And where is Van Eer's cost in all this for the construction manager?
So just to finish this page, and then I'll answer that question. So if you go down through the bottom, you can see the numbers adding up. You also have a contingency in there, so coming up to a total factor of 6.5
Mhm.
for the construction of the building. So when you go to the next page, you can now look at a little more of the other costs that go into the construction of this project. For example, the architect and the engineers, also the construction managers in there. So you'd see the architect, which is Dyson, at the very first line item. And you go down to construction inspections and travel, get your subtotal there at that point. Then you got different testing that may be involved. And then construction, our project/construction manager, you see him at that point. And then you see special permits, special agencies need to review and things of that nature. So you take all these numbers and you can come up to our total, which is slightly over 8 million. Okay? So with our budget of 8 million, what you do come up with is where we're at now. So that this is a conversation which I want to bring to attention. So currently available funds for this project, you have slightly under 7.3. Okay? So again, you've had some costs incurred from the architect and some testing and things of that nature. So if you take that analysis, you have remaining expenditures of close to 7.5. There are some expenditures that come up for testing and things like that that I didn't back out. What I wanted to give you was the raw big numbers that are coming into this project at this point. So you do have a slight over budget where we're shortfalling about 232,000. But again, just to bring up a point that we had to go into a redesign. So if you take the cost factors of what is incurred for the redesign, that itself has cost us about 153,000. So if you're saying you have a variance of about 236, you can see the bulk has actually come from that redesign. And because of the estimate that's come off of that design for a 14,000 square foot building, we've come to the part where we had to downshift and reduce
Okay, so it went from 14,000 square feet.
to
which is what
10,000.
this said, to 10,000, which is where we are right now. In
That's
our
correct.
Mach 3.
These
third.
numbers reflect the 10,000.
This is 10,000.
That's 10,000.
And so in order to get to that 10,000 square feet, it costs the city, the taxpayer, $232,425 more.
Well, the
to do that
redesign itself
redesign.
costs about 153,000.
152, what's the other part of
153.
the
Where do you
variance?
see that?
The other part of
Down
the
at the
variance is
bottom.
just
Down the
some
bottom.
small testing. It's
Down
going.
the
I
bottom.
didn't write it
Yeah,
down.
yeah.
Okay.
But the variance is 232, not
232.
153.
Yeah.
The other 80 is just,
He's had some small increases. You had some small testing. Again, I didn't label every little item to kind of break it down to that summary, because I can give you a full estimate of where we're at from the big numbers, and you can see the big picture. So, I mean,
So-
there's been other cost factors such as some Krazan, $3,600 for testing, some shipping costs we had, some earthwork done, taking down the tree, all these little factors add up to those amounts. Okay.
so it looks like what I said originally actually was true, which is our money is shrinking. Our pot of money is shrinking.
Well, as the expenditures continue to grow, your pot's going to go down. That's correct. So the only thing that's been outside of the budget or the scope that's currently happening for the 8 million has been the redesign, because we couldn't go out to a bid for a project that was the size and the scope and what it was coming out to be as far as the cost factor.
Are we going to need to do another redesign now that we're down to $7.3 million in available funds?
No, because you can see if our budget comes in as it's supposed to come in, or should I say a bid, then we should be in fine overall.
So this takes
So it all
us
comes back to the bid.
To the bid. This takes us
That's-
back to the bid.
that
If we
brings
go
us
out
to today.
bid And we get a contractor that comes in at 6.5 million, there'll be enough in the budget, in the appropriation, in Measure P, to pay for this police station. Is that correct? Without
Th-
having to go back to Measure S or tax the citizens some more, there'll be enough in the budget to finish this police station. Is that correct?
To be frank, you got to make sure that there's no change orders and things of that nature. So we'll be close.
That doesn't take account of contingencies then?
That's
what
correct.
you're saying.
So
if
you have
everything
some
goes
contingency in
well,
there.
Well, there's a contingency.
There is a
in order to-
contingency in there, but
Built in.
you got to remember that
The
if
four-
something happens,
5%.
change orders happen, construction changes, things of that nature. So
Okay, 5%, that's only,
That, and that contingency would take account of materials increasing because of competition with China, transportation problems,
floods,
windstorms,
earthquakes.
natural perils, things like that,
and change orders.
Yep, and change orders.
So
and change orders.
yeah.
And
Yep.
If
wait,
you have a good construction manager, that's the construction manager's job,
That's the whole point.
is to avoid or mitigate change orders.
that's correct.
That's,
So the best thing that our construction manager can help us do is manage the documents that go out to bid, because that's where you're going to end up with the change orders, right? So he can assist us through that process, making sure the architect's getting everything done, getting all the notations in there, making sure the add alternates are added in there correctly, making sure the notes are there correctly, make sure you have a body document that's complete so that you don't run into that problem later down the line. So, and then he can continue to go from there and make sure that the individuals are following this process and doing what needs to be done.
are we there yet?
With
Are we there yet for the project manager to do that work, or don't we actually need a contractor to do the job?
Correct. That's
Construction.
the next part of his contract. I mean, first it's got to go out to bid, obviously, and then he can finish the rest of the price process.
And right now, the city has paid the project manager 83,000, is that correct?
That
Is
sounds
that
about right. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's correct. 83,000
And the city pays the project manager every month, or how
on a
does it-
monthly basis.
On a
Mhm.
monthly basis, okay. Is there an accelerated payout during the construction phase, or is it steady?
It's
Same
steady. I
percent.
mean, it's hours worked and things of that nature, so you got a cap on there. There's percentages on which he's supposed to be dedicated to doing stuff like that.
So now we're seeing we got 7.293 million, not a penny more. Now, we know we have in the budget, now what do we need to do?
To get it- to
The
get it
direction
done.
is really just to figure out where the PLA is at, have that conversation. What does it look like? Again, we're having that conversation now, and Chuck's here. He's working very well with us to try and get that done. So we're having that conversation and what that looks like and how it's going to affect the bidding environment, and also just putting us in the best position. Again, trying to make sure we take out everything we need and put into add alternates so that we have options. So from my point of view, the more options that we have, the more we can assess the full project as it comes in and look at the bid environment again. and take in as much as we can, see what we can afford.
Can we get an update from Chuck?
Sure. Chuck, do you mind?
No. Go ahead and state your name for the record, Chuck. That way it's on record.
Good evening. Chuck Riojas. The Dodgers lost. So.
No wonder the
Wow.
chief's down there crying down
That's the
there.
way I had to start. You
Way to
know?
start. Thank you.
Hey, Chuck, I hope you got a way out of town here.
Yeah, updates. I'm here to answer any questions you got. I, obviously been thinking about this and how to address it and where we go from here. I'm gonna assume certain things, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm gonna assume two things, and hopefully I'm assuming right, that the desire of this council is to hire locally, at least to a 30-40%, and create those apprenticeship opportunities for Selma residents. And so that's really what I'm working towards, is creating that document that gets us down just to that. Evidently, I guess there's other language people aren't comfortable with. I've said from the beginning that I come at you from a workforce perspective, and my desire is just to put Selma residents into effective, viable apprenticeship. And that's it. It's not to take over the town. It's not to make everybody union. It's not to do anything other than give the Selma residents an opportunity to get into viable apprenticeship through this project. And didn't even know there was a fire station in the works. I've been open and honest about the school district. So starting there, obviously I have legal counsel that I'm dealing with, and how do we address this? Isaac and I and the city attorney have had conversations as to what that looks like. So I guess the long and the short of it is I'm trying to get that document to accommodate those two issues and only those two issues. And if I'm wrong, please direct me, and that's where we're going, because I truly believe, because we do have a pre-apprenticeship class going on right now in session, that those participants deserve an opportunity to go to work. And that is the best really way to do it, is through this project.
So, the reason I voted for this, the PLA, when we heard about it, was because of that apprenticeship and local hire clause. And I appreciate your comments to the enterprise, but I think we're all on the same sheet of music there.
Yeah, and that's what I was assuming.
Yeah, so I think you're assuming correctly. What I'm not hearing is, how do we get rid of the other part of that PLA so that we can go out and get some people to bid on this? Because I'm just hearing from all sorts of folks, Chuck, that it's because of those restrictive parts of that PLA that we're not getting the response on the bids. And I want you to know, I'm not pro-union, I'm not anti-union, I'm pro-Selma. I want the police station to get built. We've got that we have to worry about. That is what we have. You see that this pot of money is evaporating, and we've got to get to this. So what I'd like to hear from you, if I could, is urgency. This needs to happen. This needs to happen now. We need to get this resolved. I mean, we can't keep asking you to come in and come up and say, hey, we're working on it. It's going to be tough. But I might be able to do it. They might not sign up, because we just keep going around in a circle. What is the date certain? When are we going to know whether we can have this agreement changed? Because just level with us, man. If we got to do a car lease that we can't get out of, then let us know, and then we can make a move from there. But be honest with us.
That you have all the information I have. Obviously, I'm not a lawyer.
I don't have all the information you have. You're
no,
the
you
person
do.
that brought this to the table, and you
Yes,
have
sir.
contact
Yes,
with
sir.
the signatories, and you're the person that can get this done.
Yes, sir. And I am taking it seriously. I'm working on it day and night. Again, trying to get it to where, obviously, I have affiliates that I have to sign off on this. Everybody's on the same page, which is a good thing. I'm just looking for that legal way out. Yeah. In other words, I can't sit here and just tell you, okay, we're out of it, we're done, this is what we're going to do. Obviously, cities don't work that way, agreements don't work that way, so I'm looking for that document. And I've asked, Isaac to look at it and say, what's it going to take? If it's 2 paragraphs, if it's 2 sentences, give me a starting point. You know, with all due respect, I don't know if the city attorney can do that. I've got my lawyer working on it, and I said this is and one of the solutions. I'll just be completely transparent with you. Was put it in the bid docs. These two sentences or this one paragraph. Just put it in the bid docs. I've been told that might not be possible. I don't know. I don't have that legal
It would not be breaching the
understanding to
contract
do
just
it.
to put that in the bid docs or to take it out of the bid docs.
Well,
Is
what
that
I
you're
would
saying?
do is write that
Right.
page that says, as long as those two things are in the bid doc,
We comply.
that will supersede or would take the place of the community workforce agreement that's in place. It's not my desire to hold you hostage by any way, shape, or form. I want to see this police station built for the city residents as well. So, but that's an option. I don't know if it's possible. I'm exploring 3 or 4 different options. One of them is outright just killing the whole thing. But I think, you know, that to me is a nuclear option, the last option I want to go to, only because I believe you have residents that are in this class that want to go to work. And I believe they deserve that extra effort to get them to work. So I apologize, but I'm going to fight for those guys trying to get into apprenticeship, you know, before we just kill the whole document. Now, if we have to go
fight for
there.
everybody.
Right.
We gotta fight for everybody.
Okay,
We gotta
so,
fight for
so
the
as
guys
long as we
training,
understand
the
that,
gals
and I
training,
get the
and we gotta fight for the
frustration,
police
and I
station.
get the timetable, but that's, so I have, you know, obviously break it down to 2 paragraphs, get my guys to sign off on it and done. We have an option that we're exploring to put it in the bid docs, you know, and then I can make the thing go away, or we'll sign something. I don't know how the legal works,
So again, I
that
think
one
we-
would supersede the, go
Sorry,
ahead,
I
sir.
think
No, go ahead, sir.
we've had this conversation a couple times. So really, what the city's looking for is there's 2 options. There's a complete rescind, or just an amendment or reduction of the PLA itself. So
Mhm.
we've had the conversation as
And
far
I
as
think
penning
the
the bid
third option
documents.
should be exploring to put it in the bid docs.
But we
Because,
still need
because
to-
the other ones are
What
gonna
does
be
our
time,
council say?
they're gonna take time. Obviously, if I rescind the whole thing, I gotta get all my affiliates to sign off on it. That's gonna take time.
So, but you can't go into a bidding environment with that that document still in play. Even if you put it in the bid documents, you're still not removing or rescinding anything. It's still there.
There has to be an amendment to the agreement. is
So
that
the
what you're
agreement
saying?
has to be handled first, and please correct me if I'm wrong. Then we can go into a bid environment. I don't want to put us in a situation where we can't do something. I really want to put us again in a best position possible to be able to go out to bid again. So
Legally,
that takes either rescinding or amending prior to doing anything. It doesn't take it into the bid documents
Are
itself.
you dealing
Miss-
with the attorney?
Mr. Mayor, if I may, Mr. Moreno and I sat down with Mr. Riojas on October 1st, and based on the representations that we had heard, it was, again, the issues were that we wanted to preserve local hire, and we also wanted to preserve the apprenticeship program. During our meeting with Mr. Riojas, Mr. Moreno and I suggested that we remove everything except for those 2 provisions in the agreement. During that meeting, Mr. Riojas told us it was going to be a no-go, and he would rather kill the agreement than just amend it in that form. So that's when we put the ball in his court to work with the member unions that signed on to the agreement, because the agreement isn't just with the Labor Council, it's with all of the unions who are signatories to the agreement. He also talked about including language in the bid docs that were just referencing the local hire provisions and the apprenticeship program. That's contrary to the provisions of the agreement. The agreement says that we have to, the PLA says that we have to incorporate it into the bid documents. So that again would need an amendment that would need to be signed off by all of the union representatives who signed the original agreement. That's what we've been waiting for from Mr. Riojas.
Yes, sir. Ultra.
How many people do
Absolutely.
you have in that apprenticeship program?
Say that again?
How many folks are in that pre-apprenticeship program?
Selma residents,
Mhm.
5.
5.
Out
So
of,
5
I think we have
versus-
14 participants because we had to fill out the class.
So 5 versus the good of the 25,000 other residents. Thank you.
I don't know what that meant, but 5 was all we recruit. That's all we could recruit. We were out here, I was out here at a picnic, I was out here
As much
talking,
as-
I was flyering, I was talking to the, what is it, Proteus? I mean, I was doing outreach like crazy, and I mean, you can't force somebody to go to a pre-apprenticeship class.
No.
You know, so we were able to recruit 5, I believe, viable candidates that, for pre-apprenticeship.
Okay.
And they're doing really well.
So
I'm happy to hear that.
how do we get to the contract with that, those two clauses in the bid documents? Where do we go?
Mr. Mayor,
the
members
next
of the council, it was our understanding that Mr. Riojas was going to work with the member unions who signed on to the agreement to get them to rescind the agreement. And we offered that if they did that, that we would still put the local hire language and the apprenticeship program language into the bid documents. That way it would fulfill the policy goals that the council had when they adopted when they approved the agreement. We were informed late this week that Mr. Riojas was working with his legal counsel to explore some of the other options. Based on council's direction at our last meeting, it was our understanding that you wanted us to work with the union, and so we were giving him a bit more time to be able to bring back other options from his legal counsel, and hopefully we could come to some middle ground and then provide that recommendation to the council.
So, Mr. Riojas, when do you anticipate coming back with the information from your legal counsel?
ASAP. I mean, I can't force him to get on this either. I mean, right away. I mean, he knows the importance of it. He knows my desire, what it is I'm needing to do. I mean, obviously he has other clients that he's dealing with. Again, none of this is easy, and not to say what the city attorney said wasn't true. Actually, yeah, when we left that meeting, I said, let's just kill it, because that's not, I went and spoke to my affiliates. To my surprise, and I may have been an assumed on their part, that they said, okay, let's work with the city of Selma, let's see what we can do. So yeah, that's not a wrong impression that I left the city attorney and the city manager with. Because I know my guys, I've been around them 30 years and I know pretty much where they were at, but to my surprise I said, hey, let's see what we can do, let's try to save those apprenticeship spots, let's see. And so they were open to it. So then I started to explore it, because obviously I take direction from them as well. I'm their representative, but by no means, do I dictate. And so to that end, and that's where the conversation started about putting it in the bid docs. If we can get that structure in place, let's do that. And I've got my attorney working on it. Hopefully you guys want to work on it. But if it's incorporated in there, I'm told that the rest of it can be taken care of. I mean, but that's not a threat. That's not an overhang. It's not trying to keep a hammer there. I want to try to preserve those apprenticeship opportunities. I mean, that's just it. I mean, that's just where I'm at.
So would you be willing to stake the agreement on that? Would you be willing to say, if we do that, we can make the agreement? We can make it happen?
Again, without checking, and I don't want to over-assume, my affiliates say. But
you go to the edge, but you never go all the way.
Because it'd be presumptive on my part. But I would say yes. There's a very, very strong possibility if we do that my guys will say, let's do this. Yes, I carry some weight and some influence with them, and I believe, I can say certain things that'll help get them see the light and get to where we need to be.
Why aren't your guys at the table? That's what I want to know. Why haven't they met with our council, our city manager? Why aren't they at the table? I know you're at the table, but
it's a simple answer. I'm the elected head of building trades. And I can even go so far as to say you might have a situation like you had earlier today, where you had a lot of chiefs, and you really don't want that in the room. I have many affiliates. I speak for them with one voice with that. You really, like any other structure, like anything else that's a group of people, you don't want 12 people talking at you, because you're not going to make them all happy. You'd much rather deal with just one. And so a lot of times, just like in a structure like yours, you have a mayor, you talk to the mayor, he's representative of the council. He doesn't speak for the council, but he's representative of the council. That's what hierarchy is. And so as the elected head of building trades, that's why I negotiate. That's why I'm at the table. Then I convey. Then I go out there and convince, and I do. Now, if they don't like what I do, like a mayor or like anybody else, I get unelected. And so that's the situation. So that's why they're not at the table. They're all busy. So they elect me to do my job, which is part of this.
Chuck, have you ever had a PLA rescinded?
No.
No.
Never. And that's where it's one of the, even my counsel, Mr. Sharp, I don't know if you guys are aware of him, Tom Sharp, but he was like, oh man, I've never heard of one. I said, we got to look into it. We got to do it. I mean, I'm not going to hold, you have a commitment from me. I'm not going to hold this hostage. If I can't make this work, I'm going to work to kill it. I won't be the one to take the blame on this. I mean,
I
it's
think
not
what we
gonna
need,
happen.
that's good to hear.
Yes,
We need a
you
timeline.
have my
like,
commitment
what's
on
the
that.
drop dead date that you can give us, after which you will just say, that's it, we couldn't come to an agreement, let's just abolish the agreement, let's all move on, part as friends. What is that date? What date can you give us for that?
4 weeks,
Can you
As
give us a
much
month?
as much as possible.
30
but
days? I'll give you 30
yeah,
days?
I'll leave that up to you. If you give me that 30 days,
And if you
I'll do
don't,
it.
but
I'll
if you
do
don't,
everything
that
I
means
can.
that we have to look into abolishing the agreement.
No, no, no.
So
Yes, and I'm gonna
we're
do
have to
everything
do
I
what
can.
we have to do.
Yeah.
Is 30 days
30
sufficient
days
amount, of
good?
sufficient
I
time?
say till the end of October, because he's been working on this since he came back in
Well-
October. The first, I think.
Mayor, may I speak to the issue?
Yes.
If the longer we wait, every day we wait, jacks up the cost of the construction.
Correct.
If we wait 30 days to get an answer, that puts us 30 days behind the bid schedule, puts us 30 days behind the construction opening. 30 days is, my opinion, way too much time. They've had it for a month now, way too much time.
2 weeks?
And again,
2
you
weeks
gotta remember the
enough?
construction cost keeps going up with the information I've already provided with you.
Yeah, we
Um,
see it. We see
so,
that.
I mean,
We
we're all
see the
seeing-
urgency's right there
We're all seeing
staring at us in the
the
face.
threat of the interest rates going up, so it's driving costs
But
up.
if he doesn't do it, then we have to do what we have to do, and that's gonna take time too.
Yeah, so.
We have
So-
to research that.
30 days seems a little excessive.
I would ask for 30 days.
excessive.
Yeah.
I think so.
I would ask for 30 days. I'll try to bring it sooner. Once I have it, there's really no reason for me
I
to
mean,
keep
he's
it.
already talked to the groups.
Halloween trick or treat.
How about November 1?
I'll do my best.
Okay.
Again, I mean, I can, it's,
November 1?
we'll do everything we have to do. As long as I have access to the city manager and the city attorney and we come to an agreement, if it's in the bid docs, I'm pretty sure, we can make something work. I mean, again, my desire is not to hold anybody hostage or anything.
Next council meeting?
That's 3 weeks.
November 5th.
I'll take 3 weeks, I'll take 4 weeks, I'll take, whatever you guys say.
How about we compromise? 3 weeks, next council meeting. You got
Alright.
something,
I,
or we
I
move?
say the end of the month.
All right.
Correct. If we could have until
Well, you
the,
can't take you can't take
Either
action
regardless,
after the
we'll be in
election.
the same situation.
You can't have an agenda item after that, right? After the election on November 7th?
correct. So if
So
we
would
could
have
have
to
it
a
by the
special
30th.
meeting on
If you get it done
November
early,
1st,
can we have a special meeting?
and then have another meeting
On the 5th.
before the election day, because we would still have a quorum
Yeah.
with 3 people. There are 2 that are moving off the
But they're
council.
still on.
They're still on
We're
council
still
until the
on
election's
council.
certified.
Until the election is certified.
Correct.
They're still on the job. They're still
So
on
it'd be
the job.
December.
Yeah, no, it's
They
just a
won't leave
matter
till-
of
And
one council binding another council to a future course of
It
action
happens
for
all the
something
time.
as,
Scott.
does,
I've bound him to this,
does it
we've
make it right?
bound him to the budget.
Yeah, so.
If I
to
may,
other
if,
things.
if I may, obviously, as much time as you can give me, but you have my commitment that as soon as I have an answer, you may have it next week. But, 3 or 4 weeks, we'll see what we can do. Again, I want the city to explore putting it in the bid docs. And then I think that would solve a lot of problems on our end. And if that happens, then I can, but the sooner I know definitively what the direction of this council is, then I can start going to my affiliates tomorrow. If the city attorney and the city manager can tell me definitively, we will put that in the bid docs, here's the language, I'm off and running tomorrow. And then I could get everybody, say this is where we're at, it's what we're gonna do, and I can have an answer for you probably by Friday.
Well,
I
let's
mean-
do
okay,
that
Friday.
then.
Friday sounds good.
No, I'm just saying, but if the city does what,
Let's do Friday,
if the
man.
city gives me that commitment, do you see what I'm saying?
We still have the council.
And I don't know if legally we can do that. I'm telling you.
Friday,
No, let's get him to
That way-
November
he
5th.
has to have time to look.
Because when he gets it, we might.
Yeah, I want you guys to have all the time.
Friday, October 26th then.
That works.
And if we don't have it after that, we have to go in the other direction. We just have to,
That's-
Chuck.
No,
We're
no, no.
running out
Hey,
of money, and this
no,
is
no.
strangling us.
I don't take any offense to that whatsoever. Again, the circumstances are, we didn't see this coming. We were hoping for
Right.
more bidders.
You know,
It's nobody's fault. We're just trying to do what's best for the community.
and I mentioned, I love the idea, I'm glad you have those 5 guys
That would go to
versus
5th.
the other
November 5th.
25,000 people in our city. You have to look at the cost to benefit ratio
What's your
at that
recommendation,
particular point.
city attorney?
And
Let's hear the recommendation of our city attorney.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, in order to be able to look at whatever language they provide to us, go back and forth, put it on the agenda, and give council sufficient time to review it, we need any proposed language by October 26th.
I don't think enough time for us, not enough time for us to look at it, really.
I think that's perfect.
Because then it would go out with the agenda packet on the
Won't give us
2nd.
enough time.
So that,
I would,
We've gone months.
I would do-
We've
I
gone
would
months already. We got it. We need a resolution.
Yep.
yeah.
yeah, I would get.
And
I'd make
then,
it November fifth,
do that.
No.
gonna go on there, regardless, just go,
Go to
no
October
answer, and just,
26th.
we'll make a decision on that day.
Well,
but
even
Mr.
if
Mayor,
it
we
comes
need to
up
have
with
time to
something
be able to look at the
26th.
language
Yes,
that they're
yes.
proposing.
She's giving herself time to review it.
Yeah.
so
she
even
needs-
if she gets something on the 26th, it doesn't mean we make a decision on the
I think
26th.
No,
It
it'll-
takes
it'll-
her 5 or 6 days to review it.
And
get
go back
to
and
us
forth with
Yeah.
their legal
And make a
counsel.
recommendation.
Still
Can-
gotta come back to
let me-
council. for
So
action.
if-
we're not
if
gonna
I-
see it until November 1st anyway.
Right.
November 1st
No.
or
November
2nd.
5th.
November
If
5th.
I may,
Go ahead.
can the city attorney draw something up?
Didn't you already?
We have offered
thought
to
you did
do
that
that, and we were told
I
no.
thought you
Well,
did that already.
I'm asking now,
Okay.
and I apologize if I was inferring no last time. Yeah, if you draw something up, give me that one pager, whatever it looks like, include it in the bid docs, then I can start working on that tomorrow. Instead of waiting for my attorney to get something
How
done.
fast could you
Uh,
get something?
Yeah, Blanc,
By the end of the week, just to confirm that the direction from council would be to rescind the agreement and to put the local hire language and the apprenticeship program language into the bid docs. That would be the offer of compromise.
That sounds like what we've been talking about. Does that
All
sound right?
along.
that sounds,
Yeah.
that-
Okay.
that'd be
And you
fair.
could get it to Mr. Rojas by
No,
yeah.
Friday?
By the end of the week,
But
yes.
you want that
By the
on
19th.
on-site, off-site, improvement, or what?
Whoa, on-site.
On-site
Yeah,
only?
I mean, we dealt with this off-site stuff, and it's just, it's not
Just-
relevant to our area. It
Yeah,
doesn't
and
work.
for a project
On-site's
this
good, right?
size, for a project this
Yeah, for a
size,
job
it's,
project this size.
you're not
Well,
gonna
I
be
just
doing
wanna be
offsite
clear what,
prefab.
what we're doing here, so.
Are there any other particulars we needed to talk about now and get clear with Mr. Rojas?
I think those are the only two provisions.
Okay,
Are we good?
Yeah, I'm happy with it.
All right,
Yeah,
and then the
and
26th.
I'll have a working document hopefully by
Okay.
Friday. Again, it's an artificial timeline. If it takes till Monday or Thursday, whatever, get it to me and I'll start shopping it around. I mean, no doubt. And we'll. And
If
I'll,
you could,
I'll-
just to lend some urgency, that's our drop dead.
Oh
date.
no, the guys know.
After that, we're.
They're tired of my
we
phone
gotta
calls as
move
well.
on, right.
We got to get this done, no doubt. And so, just for my clarity, do you want me to work through the city manager, work through the mayor? Like,
City
let's say I
manager.
get the document Friday, I'll give you updates as we go.
city
Okay.
manager. That way,
He'll
the
keep
ci-
us all updated.
that way he'll keep us all informed, Chuck, okay?
Perfect. Great.
All right.
Am I done? Can I go home? Wait for the game tomorrow, the Dodger game?
We have one gentleman been waiting.
I think we have some people who'd like to address
They've been waiting
the.
all night.
Yeah, he's
All
been waiting
right.
for a
Don't
chance
reach
to
out.
talk about this.
Okay, I won't leave.
Okay. All right.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council, and happy birthday, Mayor. Nicole Gehring with Associated Builders and Contractors. We are a state and federally approved.
Excuse
Oh,
me.
pardon me.
State your name and your address, correct address again.
Nicole Gehring, Associated Builders and Contractors, Northern California Chapter, 4577 Las Positas Road in Livermore is where our training facility is located.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So I've been monitoring your situation here the entire time as contractors in the area have been keeping us abreast, and we've actually communicated with the city, provided substitute PLA amendment language, and we've also sent you a letter regarding the timeline and asking you to rescind the PLA. So I hope that you've seen those documents and looked at all of those. We haven't received any communication back from you, so I was compelled to come here in person to ask you once again to rescind the PLA. My concern is with the now your compromise language of the apprenticeship language and the local hire language going into the bid doc separately. What you're going to have here is you're going to now have a discriminatory apprenticeship policy. So now you're going to have a document that you're going to have to watch for the language where it says joint. If you have the word joint, then only apprentices from joint approved training programs are going to be able to work in your city. And there are other apprentices in this area who are not members of joint programs. They're members of unilateral programs, which are the non-union apprenticeship programs. And I would respectfully request that you would allow them also to work on your project in your city. And finally, regarding the local hire language, I would respectfully request that your language allow for all workers to be able to work, not just workers who are from a out of a hiring hall. So I just want your community to be able to build your community in the best way possible, and that is to leave it open for the entire workforce and apprentices that are all involved. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you. Go ahead.
I'm Robert Berry, Mr. Mayor and council members. I've lived in Selma all my life. I'm president of my company, R.J. Berry Jr. Incorporated, which was established in '83 and always has had headquarters here in Selma. The majority of our employees also live in the Selma-Kingsburg area. We are a merit shop contractor and members of ABC, not signatory to any union agreements. Most of our work are public work projects, which is performed for cities, counties, state agencies, and various local projects, which are subject to Davis-Bacon and prevailing wage requirements. We have pension and health insurance programs that the fringe benefit portion of the prevailing wage is paid into the wage required for the various crafts are placed on behalf of the employees into fringe programs that their benefits are 100% vested at the time of deposit. I was contacted to consider bidding as a subcontractor on the police station project, but when I was told it had a PLA, I told them I could not do that to my employees. If I signed a PLA agreement and paid fringes into the union plans, my employees would get no benefit from them. And besides that, I could only take 5 of my local non-union employees as the way the PLA was written. I think that in the best interest of the city and getting your work done, you've done lots of projects just under regular prevailing wage rules where all contractors have an opportunity, and it just doesn't seem like a PLA is something the city needs. I think you should consider rescinding it.
Thank you.
Thank you. State your name and address. Thank you very much.
My name is Tim Bremer. I'm owner of Harris Electric in Fresno, California. And we've been in business for 55 years and have done work all over
State your address, please.
My address is 4679 North El Capitan,
Okay.
Fresno, California.
Thank you.
For 55 years, we've done work up and down the valley, and we've done private, public works. I have 33 employees. 2 of them live here in Selma, and it just we just refuse to do bid projects with PLAs on them. We belong to ABC. We employ apprentices. We train apprentices. Most of my employees have been with me for many years. You know, some of them more than 20 and 30 years. I've a graduated apprentice out of my company. Right now we have 5 apprentices that have gone through ABC's program, 5-year program. They still work for me now. I have 2 apprentices currently in the program. So, and we will not bid a project with PLA on it.
Tim?
Yes.
If we rescind the PLA, that's what we're talking about doing, and just retaining the apprentice and local hire provisions, is that gonna be enough to discourage you from bidding, or
It depends
on
what that language is on there, because if it has that joint in there, those apprentices still need to come out of the union. And in this project, if without a PLA, with basic language, is a perfect project for my company. We would be bidding it, yes.
You would be bidding it, and Bob, you guys would be bidding the local street and road work too, right?
Yeah, we'd be bidding the portions that we do. We wouldn't bid as the general contractor for the building, but I would bid as a subcontractor to the.
With the tweaks that Nicole is suggesting on the joint, is that something that you could live with, Chuck? Is that something our attorney's gonna put in?
No, there's a reason why we put joint apprenticeships in.
Okay, or how are you gonna draft the agreement then, to give to Chuck?
I was going to leave the joint apprenticeship language in there.
I don't understand the joint apprenticeship. Explain that to me.
So a joint apprenticeship program is where they come from a union shop, as opposed to, under the provisions of the labor code, anytime we do a public works project, I believe over $30,000, you have to use apprentices. And those come from non-union shops, and they could come from union shops as well. So there is a difference. It was my understanding that based on the program that the union was running here in Selma, that council wanted that language in there to be able to utilize some of those folks.
We want apprentices, but does it
I
have
don't
to?
care
where
what
they
we're
come
binding.
from.
It's not a binding contract already.
Well, yeah, but we're
We're talking
talking
about
about
rescinding.
rescinding that and replacing it with these two clauses. So it comes. Sure. It comes down to the apprentices, whether they're union or not. This is what it's coming down to. And if we bid this out, and people like these two aren't gonna bid on it again, we're just gonna get the same results. We gotta really bend here. We gotta give some here.
Yeah, the reason that we call for joint apprenticeship training programs, it just means that they're labor management run. In other words, representatives from contractors as well as labor run the apprenticeship program. It's completely separate from the unions themselves. They get access, they are union, there's no doubt. But when you have a unilateral program, and they can correct me if I'm wrong, it's management-driven, management operated, where the workforce has no say-so in the apprenticeship program. So in a joint, it's a combined labor management program. Those, not that they're not successful, but those up and down the state tend to be the more successful programs. So the discussion from the beginning was to give Selma residents the greatest, best possible opportunity to turn out as a journeyman. In other words, the joint labor management apprenticeship programs turn out 70 to 90% of their apprentices. I won't speak to the unilateral ones, I'll let them do that. But it was to give the Selma residents access to that apprenticeship, and only that. They don't necessarily have to be union contractors in order to draw from a union apprenticeship program. So just to make the apprentice one of ours through your project. And to the other point, it was, what was I gonna say? The gentleman spoke to it, but he was absolutely correct. But it was,
Which one?
oh, the bid. Had you taken seals, you had non-union contractors there. We don't require them to join the union. And on a project this size, he would have been able to bring really the majority of his workforce, because he's not gonna have more than 5 people on this job. And so a 1-to-1 would have been a one, I think you're plumbers? A 1 plumber to 1 apprentice, really is all it would have taken for this police station. It's not like it's a hospital. Maybe that second person would have come out of our hall, but that's it. I mean, I don't know how he conducts his business, but I don't see a crew of 10 being out there, so to speak. And so, yes, he's correct that 5 of the people would have come from his shop, 5 would have come out of the halls, but the apprentices would have come out of a joint labor man. And that's really what we've been talking about this whole time, is a viable apprenticeship. And that's really critical to this thing. And so to give your residents the best chance of turning out is why we entertain this. So I don't know if that clarified.
It clarifies it, but it still sounds like there's a sticking point there.
Oh, no, absolutely. And it's
a
always been that sticking point. And it's never really been about the community workforce agreement. It's always been about that apprenticeship component. And I even was transparent with the city manager, city attorney. I said, look, you can throw out all the rest of it. There's still going to be an issue if you keep this viable apprenticeship language in there. Because you know, there's no secret what we do, the ABC as well as us. And so we know where, I guess, the problems lie. So it's not really in the document. It's in the joint labor management apprenticeship language. So by putting that in there, you're not eliminating anything. You see, does that make sense?
Then we just need to.
So how could we get a middle ground on this so that people like that will bid? And
I
yet
can't
we
make
also
somebody
have
bid your
something that
project.
People can sign up.
And then they can pull from ABC.
You have that right anyway, regardless if you do business.
So that's acceptable.
No, you don't, you can do that with or without an agreement. That's state law, just like they said, 1777.5. You have apprentices that you need on public work jobs. And so you don't need a document to say, draw apprentices from every place.
You don't need a joint agreement to use joint apprentices. There's gonna be union subcontractors on the job as well as non-union, if there's fair and open competition, if there's no PLA, if there's no joint language and such.
It really boils,
Everybody has the same opportunity then to bid and then be working on the job.
true. But does everybody have the same opportunity?
Apprenticeship part out, then that will encourage more of those people.
Right,
But then Chuck won't get them to sign off on that. That seems to be the sticking point.
Oh, I know it is. Yeah,
Yeah.
because we want, well, it's going to be one for me as well. and I'll
Local
be
hire is not a
completely-
big deal. I'm not hearing anyone talk about local hire.
Hire, again, it depends on the language. If you
Uh,
allow all of the community to work.
We want local hire in our area, Selma, the city of
We want
Selma.
local people to work.
Yeah.
Your property, if your project's open, because then the contractors whose workers live here can then work here. If they're not bidding it because they can't use their workforce. If you read the language of the PLA right now, like, well, as Chuck just mentioned, it has the 5 core, language, which, okay, fine, 5 core. But you can't use your 5 people first and then get them from the hall. What you have to do is get 1 from the hall and then get your own, and so on until 5, instead of, why doesn't it say, use your 5 core first, and then if you need additional, then pull from the hall. And for your 5 core, allow the contractor to continue to pay their benefits and not make them pay their benefits
Into something that they won't realize the benefit of.
which they may or may not join the union for 5 years to become fully vested.
Is that acceptable? That
What's
good?
that, sir?
What Nicole was just talking about, the 5 core apprentices to be
Yeah,
taken from
it's a 1-to-1. I mean, it's the first one is actually theirs. It's if it, let's say if it's an open shop that gets the bid, the first employee on the job would be one of his own. And the second one would probably be an apprentice.
It's the same.
And then,
There's no difference. I don't know where she's coming from.
but either way, I mean, I'm not, yeah, I mean, one to one, again, it's not gonna trigger on this job because you're not gonna have a crew of 10. And so then, I mean, I'm willing, like I said, we'll pull all that stuff out, give me those 2 things in the bid docs, and we can probably work that. You see what it, but I'm gonna have to hold firm on the viable joint apprenticeship because that's the most successful apprenticeship. That's what I believe the Selma residents deserve and an opportunity to succeed. There's no guarantee of success in an apprenticeship program. I'll be the first to admit that. But it's just a matter of where is the most success. And then basically, I would appreciate if they had the opportunity to go into, I mean, a joint labor management apprenticeship program. That's all I'm asking. Really, that's it. And so that's going to be a sticking point, you know, within the ABC. But, you know, I'm going to advocate on behalf. But again, I'll even go back to what I said earlier. If we can't make that happen, I'm going to work to rescind it.
You're going to work to rescind it if we can't.
Yeah, because really you don't need it. If you're just going to do an open shop, open bid, open everything, you won't. There's the only reason for engaging in these agreements is for those apprenticeship opportunities. That's really, and I've been open and transparent about that from the beginning. That's the only reason I engaged in this whole situation, not to make anybody union, not to make the job union, just because I believe in workforce development. I believe in those apprenticeship opportunities. I know what we bring to the table when it comes to apprenticeship. That's what I think is worth fighting for. Outside of that, you know, I've been completely transparent with you. You know everything I know. And to their point, if you're just going to do that, you don't need it. You really don't.
Yeah, it's about the future of Selma residents, being able to choose where they want to go into their programs. If you only want them to go into joint programs, then if they choose, they're gonna go into joint programs. And, you know, if they choose non-union, they can do that as well. They have a choice currently. So if you have a joint language, you're gonna probably lose some of your bidders. Unfortunately.
But that's by choice. That's not my call.
Around here is more merit shop than not. So, I mean, you might want to consider that with your prices escalating, as the discussion was happening earlier.
quickly and as efficiently and within our budget. And that's my primary goal. I have to look at 5 apprentices versus the pocketbook of 25,000 people. That's the bottom line for me. And and as quickly as possible, that's key.
So we're working on this legal agreement. You're gonna have that, you're gonna present it to Chuck by Friday. He's gonna come back and he's gonna let you know by the, what was the deadline? October 20? October what? Okay, October 26th.
So the direction is you still want the joint in the verbiage?
That won't work.
That
We'll
won't
get, if we have the joint, we'll get the same result, unfortunately.
So then,
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, but that was the offer of compromise to the unions, because if you don't have the joint language, then it's just
remove
the
it.
state law. I mean,
It's just
there's,
taking it out.
you're,
Yeah.
you have no agreement. You have
Yeah.
no,
So, yeah.
there's no need to have a PLA, because that's just compliance with state law, the general apprenticeship requirement.
If we have the joint part in there, we've already had testimony from 2 reputable individuals who state that if that language is in there, the joint part is in there, they're not gonna bid. And that's why we're in this predicament to begin with, is because they're not wanting to bid. And that joint issue is what's at issue, right? Am I understanding this correctly?
Yeah, that's the nub. That's the compromise that Chuck's offering tonight. He'll
Yeah.
take everything
That's
else
right.
out except
Yeah.
for the joint labor agreement.
Yeah.
So,
And if we leave the joint labor agreement in, what I'm hearing over there is we're not gonna get very many contractors to bid again. And if we take it out, then we don't even have a PLA anymore.
Yeah. 'Cause
And
we don't have
that's
nobody.
correct.
we still have a contract. We still have a signed
Yeah.
contract, which means we have to unwind that. Chuck's saying all the right things, that he's gonna help us because he's always been a friend to Selma, but we still have a signed contract. At the end of the day, we're gonna need to research that. So if our attorney gives you a new agreement without the joint labor agreement, they're gonna say no, right? You can give us your answer right now.
I have no idea. Just like I was
Mo-
wrong that they would even modify. I'll do my due diligence. I'll take whatever I get to my guys. That's all I can do.
So why don't you draw it up without the joint labor agreement? The deadline is still the 25th, and we don't hear anything back. But 26th, then we have to take action. We have to
start looking at other avenues.
go on the basis of a new contract,
I'd give,
a new bid.
well,
And that means we gotta look at rescinding that contract. And then going forward with another bid. And to do that, that's legal. There's some legal ramifications there.
yes.
So do we have, that's what we decided, right?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council,
Well-
just to clarify, so it's removing the joint apprenticeship program, and it's gonna be the state approved, which is just required under the labor code. But then,
But-
as far as the local hire requirement, you still want to preserve that language. What I wasn't going to
Yes,
put in the
yes.
core, not core,
we
I was
wa-
just going to have a general local hire requirement.
We want, we
Yeah,
want,
I think we should. We should hire as many local people as possible. That's why we signed on to this. Local hire and apprenticeship, so people can learn and, get good, well-paying jobs and grow in their career, in their trades.
in their
But
community.
but the overarching goal is to get a police station built.
Mhm.
And it just seems like from what we're hearing tonight, that the only way to do that is without that joint labor agreement, but with a local hire option and with a pretty firm deadline.
And that's a consensus of the council.
I'm good with it.
I think so.
Yeah.
Me, I'm not good with it. I'd rather stay what we had in the beginning, cause could we have that agreement? That's the only thing.
I know, there's an
That's the
agreement there.
agreement we made, and I'm the kinda guy not gonna, on that agreement, we're binded by that.
It's up to rescind the agreement, it's up to the trades to rescind the agreement.
Correct, all 21 or 22 signatories to the agreement need to agree to rescind it.
If they don't agree to rescind it, then we'll have to go litigation, rescind it,
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, given the possible exposure to liability, I would prefer not to have that discussion in open session.
You would present our options in
Elsewhere.
executive session at an appropriate time and place.
Let's have her do that.
Is the potential.
Yeah, let's do that.
What?
Do what?
So she's gonna draft what we've been talking about, and then we'll go through the deadline, and if Chuck comes back and says they are not for it, then that's when we have to discuss as a
What we wanna
council
do.
what the ramifications are and what direction we wanna go in.
Okay.
Does that sound
That's
fair?
all right.
That's fair enough.
all
Is
right.
everybody good with that?
Yeah, I mean,
Put Chuck to work right away.
all right.
Okay.
Make it work. Make it work. Okay,
Frank?
all right.
Hello again, council and mayor.
You've used up your 3 minutes.
Again?
No, already.
I just had a couple of questions. You know what? I normally come up here and I jab at you guys every night and make you feel uncomfortable. But I
That's
just
all right.
want to applaud you guys tonight. You guys have done whatever this gentleman has, and this gentleman and somebody else that used to be here who didn't agree with him about their percentage rates on workforce and labor. You guys have made a fucking decision tonight. That's fucking awesome. Excuse my French. But 3 years, come on, let's build this man his police station. Selma needs this. I suggest our city attorney and our city manager has a powwow with this lady here on all the lingo and the language, and I mean, come on. Let's do this. Let's build it. You guys are on a roll. Don't stop.
There you go.
You know?
Thanks, Frank.
Forward and onward.
Frank, thank you, Frank. Okay, so we'll move on to the next item, guys. Okay, we'll go to the department reports. Isaac, you're up. You have city manager and community development and financing, all three.
Thank you, Mayor.
Go ahead, they're all.
Department reports, I did meet with.
Hey, Frank, aren't you gonna stay? My birthday. Why don't you stay here?
If we're having cake, I will cut it.
I have a cupcake. Go ahead.
Thank you. I met with the Kingsbury Media Foundation. This is the group that actually established the downtown speaker system in Kingsburg. So I'm talking to them currently right now and see what they can put together for that process. Hitting some of the same roadblocks I hit with Comcast as far as power, location, accessibility, and things of that nature. So to kind of give a rundown of what the issues are. Know what they did, like, for example, in Kingsburg, is they put them on the utility poles, right? So downtown, we don't have utilities up front or in the alleyways. What there is light poles. But the power that's powering those light poles is not sufficient enough for having these speaker systems. So that's a problem. So then you're looking at undergrounding or attaching it to a building. Well, attaching it to a building, what you're looking at is now going into joint operations with or the other entities that actually own those buildings and trying to accomplish it at that standpoint. Or running power from the arts center or long cables around down the tops of the roofs and things of that nature. So they're going to report back to me on what some of the feasible options are and what that's going to cost and what that looks like. So I'll keep you updated as that goes along. We were, but the Comcast is actually, I can't even get a hold of the individual anymore. So I'm not even sure if she still works there. So I'm still going to bring back the information so you have the numbers because that's what's been requested of me. So again, just trying to explore all options. Okay. Obviously that'll be an action item at the time when it comes to. I did meet with Selma Unified School District at actually 2 meetings, which was previously brought us up. But basically what we're having is a communication on Floral Avenue. So Amberwood, as we all know, is coming forward. And what we're having is to address our traffic problems. So Roosevelt School is one of the major avenues in which we need to address because of the traffic flow that comes into the drop-off points. If anybody's been to that location during the school hours and trying to drop off kids, it's, for lack of a better term, a nightmare. I mean, you have cars stacking up on each other, kids running through crosswalks. Although the school manages as best they can, it really just comes down to the location itself and the restrictions that they have. So at this point, we're trying to express to them that we're going to have to remove that drop-off location because of the Amberwood project and the flow that's going to come down that pipe. So we've worked with them. I've gone to a board meeting. They've invited me to another board meeting at the Roosevelt School where I was able to talk to the public, talk to some of the parents and things of that nature. So at that point, we were finally able to come to an agreement on what that'll look like. And so they'll have a drop-off in the back of their school, and they've approved it at that time. So we are moving forward with the project. Okay. That's all I had to report for today.
Okay, attorney,
Nothing to report, Mr. Mayor.
okay. We're gonna go to, Shane, you're up, buddy.
Not a lot to say. Public Works, we're geared up for the band festival. One thing I do want to address is the graffiti issue, code enforcement issues. Harvey knows that I'm here 100% for him, anytime, anything he needs. Be it lot cleanup, be it graffiti, be it homeless cleanup. He has me as a resource.
No, and you know what, Shane, you've been doing a good job. I'm out there in the streets, you know that. You see me everywhere, but, on patrol.
It's my department. It's my guy. It's my department.
Oh, no, you guys are doing a great job. And I, people that came tonight, I like what I saw, more people, to help our community grow and make it look better. And I gotta give you heads up that the parks are clean, everything looking nice, and, you trim the trees over at Berry Park, you know. I do pay attention, see, you know, and everything looking good, Shane. I mean, your crew was small, but now you got extra people to help you. It'll get better and better, I know. And I thank you for that, okay? And thank you, and tell your crew thank you, okay? Okay, and next person, Fire.
We sent a crew, our state engine took off early this morning to stage down in Southern California because of the Santa Ana
Oh,
warning.
okay.
Wind warning that's out. So they're updating me about every 12 hours or so, kind of a 12-hour staging period. So they're down at a station in Camarillo, Ventura County, but they are prepped to, if the fire breaks out in any of the counties down there, LA, Orange, South Lake, they'll get sent immediately to one of those locations.
Do they go down with an engine?
They went down with the state engine.
Oh, okay.
It was a state track team.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they left about 4 o'clock this morning. It was a last minute decision by the state to preemptively stash some resources down there.
Everybody down there, yeah.
Just in case.
Sounds like a couple days.
Good.
As long as nothing happens, the warning's supposed to expire, I believe, tomorrow.
Hmm.
Come
They'll
home.
come back.
They'll get sent back.
Good.
All right. Chief Gardner?
You have my council report in your package. And
Yep.
in addition to that, I want to express my gratitude to Shane in Public Works. There was some particularly pointed graffiti on the side of a wall near Rite Aid that was sending a message that concerned us in terms of possible gang activity in the city. I expressed that to Shane, and it was gone the next day. So there's no way of knowing exactly whether or not that avoided anything, but we haven't had any issues since, and I'm grateful he got on that immediately. So, thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Mike Kushner.
Real quick, the country barbecue is this Wednesday from 11 to 1, fundraiser for Pioneer Village. So we still have tickets for sale at the chamber or at the rec office. $10.
That Wednesday?
Wednesday, 11 to 1.
Wednesday.
You can eat there or you can take out.
Oh, okay.
Can you eat in the Vincennes house, like at their dining room table? Not yet, huh?
Pretty soon.
Yeah.
That's the goal.
Gotta raise money.
Th-
Someday.
Thank you, Mike. Council reports. Yvette?
How about we start alphabetic?
Well,
We'll go alphabetic.
Go back over here, huh? I saw Sweeney Todd, the Mad Barber of Fleet Street in the Selma Arts Center. They did an excellent job of it. It's a funny play because it's not a feel-good type of play, but it's got a lot of really great action, and the music and the dancing was just terrific. So, good time.
Awesome.
That was it for me.
Awesome.
okay. Scott?
Sure. I attended the statewide LAFCO meeting at Yosemite, and we were, one of the speakers there was from Mariposa County, where all the hotels are for Yosemite, and they said their TOT generates $8 million annually.
Hello.
I could, would just be stunned by that. That was amazing.
$8 million?
But LAFCO's very interesting. One of the big things this year is about the lumber, the trees, the dead trees, the bark beetle. Now there's just a bunch of zombie walking dead trees out there. And they're a fire hazard, so they need to be cleared. So the state's finally coming around to that, and hopefully there'll be a solution there. LAFCO is this shadowy organization that decides on boundaries and audits special districts like the cemetery district, like the Selma Healthcare District, and really they've evolved into an organization that provides a report card on these special districts, and yet the state doesn't really fund them. So it's one of the governor vetoed a $3 million bill just to fund statewide LAFCOs. So they are looking for money. So there may be an increase in the memberships. They're looking for $60,000. All the counties, the 57 counties, are members of LAFCO, and so it may very well come to that. I voted against it. In my vote, I'm an alternate, one of hundreds of people there, but my vote was don't do it. Find a way of explaining the benefits and raise it through your great year-end events, or have an event, something to do that, because it's not a lot of money, and rather than taxing the people, do that. So that was very interesting. This month's Western City magazine, if everybody hasn't read it, I have a copy here, on community policing. Really a couple of interesting ideas. I know it's really late. From Sacramento, police chief are having a peace march every Friday. We wouldn't do it here, but regularly a peace march with police officers and community leaders and members picking an area and walking through it like a rolling national night out, like a rolling national neighborhood watch. The article said residents who otherwise feel intimidated come out of their homes. They feel safe to come out of their homes and talk with the officers and community leaders about what's going on. There's another idea is Walk in My Shoes program, where a community leader takes a new police officer, of which we have many now, to their area of town the leaders are familiar with, and introduce the new officer around the neighborhood.
That's pretty good.
And so, people get familiar with that officer, and it gets the officer familiar with the people. We had we had on Thursday a German Shepherd thrown out of a car on 99,
Oh, you're kidding.
hit by another car behind it, broke his leg. Poor little 1-year-old. The vet bill was going to be between $645 and $945, or we could euthanize the dog. And we said we don't really have the money, but we're gonna give him a shot. So we scraped together some money, and that dog's getting his leg set. And the reason I bring this up is because we have an event this weekend that is really important in terms of fundraising. It's like the #1 fundraiser for Second Chance. It's the Tejano concert, and it's going to be Saturday. Starts at 5 at Pioneer Village. Tickets are still low. They're still $15, $20 at the door, and it goes towards a really good cause. Half of it goes to the animal shelter. The other half's going to the Police Officers Association, and the shelter it's not flamboyant. It doesn't get a lot of money, but as you saw on the front page of the paper today, people are concerned because the front page of the paper was about the increase in live release rate from the Fresno SPCA. They were at 80% kill 5 years ago, and now they're below 50%. So they're doing a good thing, but it takes money, and fundraisers are important like this. So everybody, please remember the Tejano and Country Bash. Finally, I would like to say thank you to Isaac Moreno for all your work since July 1. This is your last meeting as the interim city manager. Your work has not gone unnoticed. You've had some very, very difficult situations, like tonight, like several agenda items, and I can't thank you enough for your service. And it's been a real joy to watch you grow and develop and mature as a city manager. So thank you.
You've done a good job. Franco? I'm gonna say you get for last.
That means you're next.
I'm gonna do it.
Nothing really to report, but I do just want to restate what Scott said, Isaac, and thank you for filling in on a short notice in a tough position. I know you still have it for a few more days, but we do appreciate you sitting and keeping the chair warm, and hopefully you'll be a great asset to Teresa when she gets there.
You've done a fine job, Isaac, absolutely, and I'm really glad that Scott brought that to our attention. 'Cause I hadn't thought about that. You're just gonna I just figured you to keep rolling. So, but thank you for what you have done. We really, really appreciate that. And I simply want to mention a couple of things. First, SKF, the McCall Avenue line was supposed to start by now, but there was a funding slowdown, if you will, in the pipeline up at Sacramento. But that's been resolved. It had nothing to do with SKF, had everything to do with Sacramento. But that's been funded, and so hopefully they're going to break ground by the end of next month or the first part of December. And so watch for that. And next, the mayor was gracious enough to ask me to attend mock elections at Eric White School in the Barrio. And I do want to say that as a former teacher, I want to give that school an A++. They were outstanding. The physical landscape was amazing, but even more so were the kids that I got to work with. Part of their curriculum in third grade is national politics or government, and so they decided to have their own mock election. They nominated a student from each of the third grade classrooms. So there were 4 third grades, so there were 4 candidates, and they wrote their own message to the students on their own. So their concerns, let's beef up the Army, let's help the homeless, all of these wonderful ideas that were coming from third graders. And my job there was to motivate the kids. How do you choose the right person for the job? And like I said, having been a teacher, I brought a Goldilocks and the Three Bears book. And I said, their job is akin to Goldilocks' job. She went through the Three Bears cottage, and this one was too hard, this one was too soft, but this one was just right. So when they looked at their 4 candidates, they had to be like Goldilocks and say, this one is just right. And the children had to appeal to their particular values. But one important piece that I also mentioned, that after the elections were over and a candidate was victorious, that the important part was that at the end of the day, the other 3 were still Eric White Tigers, and that the victor should turn to their opponent and give them a big shout out, shake their hand and say, congratulations, you did a good job. And like I said, at the end of the day, they have to be good sports, good citizens, and not gloat over their victory and simply be. Because at the end, right, they're still Eric White Tigers, and they are still classmates, and that's what's important. And so they were very receptive to that message, and they were great kids. I also want to mention, as you all know, I'm a band booster mom, and so I spent my Saturday last week all day in Modesto with our band kids, and I'm happy to report that our band kids took first place in their division. So not only did they win first place in their division, they swept everything. So they were first place in color guard, first place for drum major, first place for general effect, first place for musicality. And so I'm very, very proud of those kids. And that's all I'm going to say, because I know it's late and I'm hungry, and I'm sure you guys are too.
Thank you, Yvette. Okay, and all I got to say, I attended the opening day of the fair.
Opening day?
Opening day, I was there, and and I did attend some concerts. I should pay more attention to where I go to concerts. But in life, opening day of the fair, the fair, like I said to you last time I talked, the fair is a good avenue for all our communities in our valley. I looked at Selma's work in the agriculture department, in the farming community, and the drawing, with Selma, and the band came out. Selma participated in the band out there in the Fresno Fair. It's amazing. As a little kid, I've been going there since I was little, and even at my age, I'm still going there. But it's a good thing. It's a good event to come to because it reminds me, as a youth, things are changing in life for the better. In community, I got to see new ideas, what kids draw today, and what they're making, and what is happening in the world. Life is changing very fast, but you know what? People are changing with the time, and I like what I see of the young generation. I was very impressed, and livestock. I got to meet, and even the Boys and Girls Club that went there. They had a scavenger hunt. They got to see every area in the fair because they had to look for the item, which was good. Place had never been. I like what was taking place, but they also I attended the candidate forum in our community, and it's nice to see people come out and participate and care about our community. I like what people do. They care. When people come out and run for office, that tells me they care about their community and they want to do a difference and change. I admire that. I like that. And the other issue, I also today's my birthday. Thank you, Frank, for being there waiting for me. Thank you, and the rest of you as well.
He's waiting for the cake.
Yeah, he's waiting for the cake. But in life itself, guys, I thank all the public works people work for the city. I thank them. Isaac, once again, they told you they thank you. I thank you because as a council, I'm the spokesman of sometimes of the group. We put a lot of pressure on you, and we don't mean to do that, but we all have things we have to do to get things done in our city. But you did it. I commend you, and I'm very proud of you what you did under pressure. I thank you for that because you're going to make a good city manager. Trust me. And I know that when our new city manager comes, there'll be no problem her taking advice from you in a heartbeat. You know why? Because she's going to rely on you, Isaac, and it's going to be very important what you tell her and what you say to her, to make our city grow. And you're doing it. All right? And I thank you for it, okay?
And just one statement to kind of carry on to that. It's the city manager has a tough job. It really does. But it's the city staff that really can take that individual to the next level. And you have a stellar group here. And I think you've heard that from every individual that's come here since the time I'm coming on.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it's that hasn't changed. Your department heads all the way down to the other levels. I mean, it takes a strong group to carry us through on a day-to-day transaction. Because as you can see, things flow pretty quick, and then they can get rough, and then you kind of smooth things out, and then you go to another direction. But it takes a strong work group and a strong work ethic from all department heads that you have here and all the city staff. They're really the ones that carry us through the day. So thank you.
See, that's good. See, that's good. I like that. But all said, just last item. Anybody can come from the public, make an address to city council on anything, and any item has a limit of 3 minutes. Come forward. If not, let's go home. Okay. Make a motion to adjourn. We'll go home.